There we have it, folks. 2022 is over. What a year it has been in every aspect of life. And this, for the second time ever, we're doing the Productive Conversations Timeline podcast. So we're going to look at the calendar year 2022 and go through every major story across sports, news, entertainment, and culture. And my guys with me today include Fresh Faces, New Ideas. What's up?
How you doing, guys? Just trying to fix my lighting so I'm not so terrible. All right, I think that's fine.
Great to see you. Desmond Price from Independent Thought. What is up?
Thanks for having me back on. Not our usual football chat, but I'm ready for all things.
Excited. I like the other angle as well to show how different it is. We have Rocky Polemini here. What's up, Rocky?
Hey, Matt. Long time, first time.
So glad to have you, dude. Thanks for joining. And then we have Fresh Faces we have TweetCap host Ryan Page here.
The podcast formerly known as the TweetCap for now, but we're working on it. How's it going, Matt?
I'm very good. Glad to bring us all together. And let's talk about 2022. But before we hit that, how's everybody's year? 2022. We're here.
We are.
I can't believe in 2 weeks I'm going to be allowed to legally save people's lives. People are going to call me and ask me to save them.
All right. A great way to end this year and saving lives. Perfect. All right. So 2022, we were all over the place. So let's start it. As I mentioned, I'm going to name a date. I'm going to say the story, and we'll have our reflection on it, both good, bad, maybe some debates, some laughs, some stories, and all of that. So let's start. January 3rd, 2022, there was two things that happened. First, Apple becomes the first company in the United States history to be worth $3 trillion in value, tripling its price in under 4 years. Now, do you guys feel like Apple is a $3 trillion company?
Yeah. Who doesn't own an Apple product? I mean, yeah.
You see how far we've come from it?
I think it's crazy. Yeah, it did start as started as a home computer lab or whatever, but it's moved into a ubiquitous company for technology. I mean, this is, by the way, not even getting into whether or not any company should be worth $3 trillion. I'm just saying that if a company was going to do it, it does make sense that it would be, the company that controls our phones. It controls our laptops in most cases, or not controls, but manufactures. I can't say that's all that surprising that they were the first. I guess no. Yeah, what other company could have done that? $3 trillion before now?
Amazon.
I'm actually surprised it's not Amazon, to be honest with you.
They have the web services.
Not just that, but they own MGM, they own Ring, they own Whole Foods, they own iRobot. I mean, they're just sucking shit up all over the place.
They're on their way.
Yeah, I think Apple actually might have peaked, depending on what happens this year with the whole App Store issues. There's some lawsuits going on right now debating on if the App Store is legal, if they're running a monopoly, if they're being anti-competitive. So I think
we don't do monopolies. We don't deal with monopolies in this country. So it's not.
We have and we will, but it depends on what will happen with that.
Yeah. It depends on how much money they can offer the Senate. I mean, for being honest.
Or I think it's very possible that Amazon just goes ahead and leapfrogs them, be the first 4 trillion. Why not? Nothing will get done, and they'll just have a race to the top for the billionaires to become trillionaires, because obviously that's where this all heads. Right?
It's Elon Musk is out of that race.
Well, yeah, bad investment toward the end of the year. He was going strong till about, what was it, November?
Whenever
but that could always bounce back. I mean, especially if Neuralink takes off the way he thinks it will.
There is no way Neuralink is a successful product. He can't make cars that don't run people over and don't explode. He's going to put things in people's brains and he's going to blow people's heads up.
Well, clip that. We'll come back to that in a few years, see if that's right.
Clip that.
They call electric Teslas for a reason. They're
He's
big.
gonna be mentioned a few times this year, Elon Musk.
Think so?
Spoiler.
You think so?
I mean, I
I-
just think that Bezos is probably an inch away from buying the Washington Commanders, and that's just one more thing in America that he's going to own. That he's going to own. Amazon's going to own. They're buying up every chunk of this like economy at this point.
Is
They
he
go
actually
back to
buying
the football team.
the Commanders? Because I know I saw something about it, but like,
He's rumored to be the number one contender, but there's nothing definite yet.
Yeah, we should find out the next few weeks once that's official. But you want to continue to talk about owners, and you want to talk about people who started companies and are shady? Let's start with this. You know what also happened on January 3rd? Elizabeth Holmes, founder of the blood testing startup Theranos, is found guilty on 4 counts of fraud in San Jose, California, and she'll be spending about 20 years in jail. So this person who comes up with what was thought to believe game-changing technology in blood work, and if I'm going to give the dummy answer for that, so pretty much she claimed that she had a company that would help. If someone could help me here, I don't want to sound dumb like that.
it was supposed to be able to give faster, more accurate data on blood work to help you just like if people have like AIDS or other bloodborne diseases. It was supposed to help give you answers. There's a really good HBO documentary on it, and it does a really good job. There's 2 things that are really important in this. One, this may just be the documentary. To me, Elizabeth Holmes always looked like somebody who was wearing a human face. Like her face to me always looked like it kind of like leather face, like it was something else like on top of it. And 2, the reason that Elizabeth Holmes was arrested and then put in jail was not because of all the people who they told that didn't have AIDS or had AIDS or all the other people they screwed. It's because she tricked all of these rich people into giving her money and then took all the rich people's money. Like, it wasn't because she screwed over poor people. They love screwed over. If you're if you screw over the rich, that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah, and also have Hulu documentary miniseries made about you starring Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah, that was very good. I saw that. I was actually going to say, for my money, I would have worked much less hard in anything I did if I knew I could just simply make it up and get paid handsomely for doing that. I actually don't agree that it was just yes, stealing money from rich investors is going to get you in some hot water. But I think we are entering into an age where people are, for better and for worse, very interested in science and medicine. And I do say for better and for worse, very intentionally. I do think it would have come out that it was a fraud, actually, like the actual science wasn't there. And I do think that would have net some repercussions as well. Perhaps the fact, there was fraud on so many, high dollar value investors pushed this forward. But I don't think we're in a point now, like the snake oil salesman is always going to be a short-lived occupation. And you can look at them and like, there's more than one, right? I mean, look at what's going on with FTX at the end of the year. I'm sure that will come up, so we won't get too much into it. You can look at the folks who did Firefest, and he did it twice actually. So I guess he's sort of an exception to the rule because of his credit card first and then his festival. But yeah, you can't in this country anymore. You can't, and this is not me being remorseful that we've gotten rid of con artists. I'm just saying it's very difficult now, as it should be, to be a complete fraud, to have no merit, unless you're going into something that doesn't involve any merit. I like commentary or entertainment where you can simply build a social following, right? And that's enough. So I'm not saying every single person with a large following and with a fan base and with money is necessarily a particularly talented person. I don't think that you can make things up. And earlier, the George Santos congressman-elect from New York, it's another case where it doesn't stay hidden. You can't just pretend your way to the top anymore, which is good because a little bit of merit, I think, goes a long way. And for all those people who were defrauded, I think they would have rather have known ahead of time. They would have rather have had someone who's actually working to make their lives better. And sure, it would have been slower, but it would have been more accurate. And instead, obviously, lots of lives ruined, which can never, doesn't matter how much money they get back from her, doesn't matter how much time she spends in jail. There's people who, whose whole lives changed based off of complete bullshit. And they can never undo that.
That's the thing to especially remember. Don't be a liar. You will get caught no matter how good the lie is. No matter how well you are a salesman and jip people, you will get caught. You will look silly. You will look negative. You'll have a negative depiction of yourself on a Hulu miniseries.
Look, the real lesson from this is you're allowed to fraud people in America. There's just rules to fraud. You can't go full fraud. You got to go like mid fraud, and then you have to occasionally have a product that actually works. So if you only are scamming people half the time, you're good to go. Think about what is it, Southwest Airlines right now?
Yeah.
I mean, you're allowed to just fuck people over occasionally. You have to also just provide a product at other times throughout the year. You got to pick and choose where you're frauding people out.
I think that's the difference. I think being a fraudster versus just being a general, being a larger or even a smaller company that's just dishonest in a different way. Well, you can say what you want about Southwest and the nonsense they're doing with this luggage bit, and with all these cancellations, especially given how much they've paid their shareholders after COVID. But they do at least have airplanes, and theoretically you could get on those airplanes and fly someplace. Whereas this, Theranos was quite literally bullshit. There was nothing to it.
Yeah,
there was
bullshit.
There was no substance to it. FTX, again, very similar. There was just nothing there. It was just a charismatic person,
right,
and that's really it.
He's right. It depends on the industry. So you can be a snake oil salesman on Twitter or TikTok or YouTube, right, and stuff, where you have you are the product. But if it comes out to anything else that affects other people's lives, well, then it's a matter. And even when you talk about the Amtrak stuff, that's a product where they're still scamming people. All those workers that got screwed, and that's a product that we're just look, it's too valuable for the rest of us, so we're gonna just drive you into the ground as the workers. So look, it's good. It's good we're dealing with, at least somebody's going to be held accountable, and hopefully they can use it as some type of roadmap for other companies that do this.
Absolutely. So did you know on January 12th that the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson admits that he attended a Bring Your Own Booze staff party in May 2020 during the country's first lockdown? And he's had quite a bad year himself. How do we feel about Boris Johnson's legacy with silly stuff like this?
Boris Johnson,
I do not.
I love the UK. Their system is so wacky, and we need to take some parts of it. Liz Truss lasted 40 days. Boris Johnson became prime minister, and then the legacy of the damage he did to this country because of Brexit and the lies that he sold are just he was considered in the running 2 months after he vacated the position. It's wild that it's it's basically if on the March of 2020 we decided that there was going to be another election and that Donald Trump was the answer. That's where it would have been. Look, Boris Johnson's legacy is the economic devastation that he led through his lies through Brexit. And it's not just on him, it's their entire party for the past 12 years. It's just very funny that they found somebody who was just the most uncharismatic person to follow him because he was kind of a charismatic goofball. But yeah, it's a goofy country. They had some goofy times going on. It's very funny that the thing that ended his career was the fact that he broke COVID policy to have a party, and where in America we had the former president try to overturn the system, and we're just this seems like a thing that will slow walk.
I don't know, man. It feels like a really insignificant reason to lose your job over in comparison to the other gripes people might have had about him. If I were to stack up a list of all the reasons why you might be upset with Boris Johnson, sneaking off to have a party during lockdowns, that's got to be the bottom of the list, right? I mean, the fact that the fact that that was like the nail in his coffin seems a little anticlimactic in my opinion, but I don't know. This is the same country that also is completely okay with having this royal family who they just pay money to exist, who have no power, who, you know, own a bunch of land all over the world, and everyone's okay with just giving their tax dollars to them for no reason whatsoever because tradition, I guess. I don't know. The whole fucking country is backwards in my opinion.
I
Wait,
agree.
you mean it's not a good idea to fuck over the poor by closing all of your grocery stores when one of your monarchs die?
These people are
Uh,
crazy. Like, why is the royal family a thing? Like just
Excuse me. Did you see the queues? Did
Oh
you
my
see the
God.
queues all over the news? Okay. I'm just saying, if you're going to close a grocery store, you better have those big queues. Um, I will say that I actually agree with Desmond here. We had pretty prominent names, frankly, on both sides of our politics, flaunt COVID restrictions. And they were called out, and that's that.
Gavin Newsom of California.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like,
you guys
okay,
run
like
against
no one's
Larry
like
Elder.
happy about it, but like, is that the reason why you get kicked out of office?
Right,
I'm like,
that's
there's
what I'm
got to be
saying.
more
I don't-
important things here, guys. I'm
I
just
think it's
saying.
because it's the easiest to prove.
I guess
Right,
it,
that's
just, it
probably
felt
what
like
it
just like
is, but-
a stupid scapegoat. It's like if you don't like the guy, like say why you don't like him.
What I'll say is, and I am not an expert in British parliamentary politics at all.
You're not?
Perhaps one of you two, one of you three, four are, in comparison to me. But from my understanding,
Watch
the
Crown.
real issue watching The Crown. I have watched The Crown; it's a great show.
All 5
But
seasons.
from my understanding, is the current prime minister Rishi Sunak, who is the checker or something, some treasury-esque position, and a few other conservatives in the Johnson administration there resigned, and that's what triggered him to resign. It's also what triggered Liz Truss to resign. I think the biggest story of the, I mean, the legacy. You're right that the Brexit is Boris Johnson's legacy and all of the issues that seems to have caused. But I think the kind of like side legacy, maybe this is more Liz Truss's legacy, when you really think about it, is how silly is it that they can just up and pick, not once but twice. They essentially they forced the resignation, which probably should have done. I'm not even saying they shouldn't have done that. And then they got to just try again, and then that didn't work, so they get to just try again. At what point do the people in the UK get to say, maybe we'd like to have a turn at deciding this? Maybe we want to look at some other alternatives that are not just picked by the same conservative party leadership in the same method. And they also, from what I've understood, they did some trickery. The first time around, they let party members vote, just party members vote, and then they changed the rule so party members could not vote as much, so that way they could just straight up pick the prime minister currently, which is Rishi Sunak. I think that the bigger impact that I'm more interested going into 2023, because Brexit's been around a while. I think we see what Brexit is, but I think a lot of people saw what Brexit was when it happened. Is this? I would have to assume there's a growing sentiment of anti-government, pro-democracy, feelings in the UK after 3, prime ministers in the course of several months, only one of whom had ever been really elected to prime minister, and that being Boris Johnson back with the actual election. That's just,
Let
to
me
me,
cut
that
you off for a quick
boggles my
second though,
mind.
because we do have that system here in America. I mean, if the president resigns, the vice president takes over. If the vice president resigns, the speaker of the house next in line, so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's not
Right.
unprecedented. And then you have an election every 4 years anyway, which I'm sure they're going to be having their newest election upcoming in another year or so.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
their
it's
election
not
is another
completely
year,
unprecedented
but-
if a leader resigns and then somebody else steps in without there being an actual election to bring in the new leader.
And I'm not necessarily there needs to be an election, but whether when you look at the vice presidency, we do at least theoretically. Now, I don't think anyone picks a ticket based on the vice presidency. That would be a weird way to elect a ticket in this
So
country.
you're saying
Looking at
Sarah Palin, Kamala Harris weren't swaying people?
Wait, but Mike Pence
maybe at the
absolutely did.
margins. Maybe at the
Yeah.
margins. I really don't think that it was a majority. I don't believe there's any evidence that the majority of people look at the vice president as anything more than an interesting anecdote on a presidential ticket. Again, some people, you go with Mike Pence as an example, perhaps they were a little nervous about the
Joe
TV
Biden,
billionaire.
Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Was
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think Joe Biden's was a little different. I think Joe Biden's was less people were. I think people wanted to see a commitment to Joe Biden's ideals that Kamala Harris
No.
sort of.
Joe
He means
Biden
Joe
as the
Biden
vice
as Barack
president.
Obama's
Yeah.
vice
Oh,
president.
well, I think that's the same way. I think that was, again, there were some people uncomfortable with the idea of Barack Obama as president, but I don't think that was the majority reason that Barack Obama got elected
I
president.
don't think so either. But no, I agree with you. But I also think that the Labor Party, I believe it's called, that's the more left party. I think they actually are on pace to win like actual historic gains in their upcoming election.
Oh, absolutely. But it's just it is. I
right.
think it should
be
have happened
similar.
sooner.
I would say kind of similar to the Israeli
You're
system,
not
where they
basing
have
that off
snap
polling,
elections.
are you? Because I've officially declared the polling industry dead. Every time they tell us what's going to happen, the opposite
Well,
happens.
that's
so.
because they call people on the phone and
Exactly. So like, where are we getting this
40 picks up the
information
phone.
from? Like they're
I
on
don't
pace
know,
for
but this is
escorting to who? Polls? Because like get them the fuck
Yeah.
out of here.
But like
they don't get anything right.
The ideal, I guess, in this situation would be similar to the Israeli system where they have snap elections.
Right.
And because they had all those, because that's how Netanyahu stayed in power for like 3 extra years, because they couldn't get a coalition strong enough to oust him for 10 minutes.
And the UK has that ability, but it's an ability that resides within leadership. They can call for an election, like a snap election. It's not probably called, I don't believe it's called a snap election, but there is a set system in the UK where they can call for another election of parliament. But again, that has to be called for, and obviously the people in charge are not going to be calling for an election that they believe is going to remove them from power. I don't know, that to me, that was the most like interesting and the most, I think, impactful bit of what we saw was that whole saga leading to the current prime minister. And again, I don't necessarily know whether he's going to be good or bad for the UK. That really should be up to people who live in the UK. I can have my own opinions, but I don't live there. I just think that in general, having 3 prime ministers in that short amount of time, and only one of them having been elected, which was years before this whole thing happened, to me, it just felt like there should have been some sort of, at some point they have to say, all right, we need to really, like, there needs to be some sort of public input. That's my opinion.
And ideally,
Matt, I just want to say this really quickly. I have a harder time keeping track of time on these podcasts when we're talking politics versus talking football. So if you got to cut me off to shut me up, just go ahead and do that, because I know we got a lot of questions to get to.
We'll just finish some final words. We'll finish off with Bach, and then I'll switch it up after.
Yeah, I would say to respond to that, I'm sure that's a pretty heavily understood sentiment, Ryan. And so I would say, ideally, if you're the party out of power, that would be something you would run on in order to garner votes, would be some type of, hey, look, this is instability. Like you cannot function, even if we're in charge, we would want to have a system where if we're fucking around with you, you can remove us from power. Like, yes, at some point, will this come back to bite them in the ass? Yes, because people always use politics in a way to produce nefarious outcomes. But at least running on an idea to make it more democratic should garner you some support, as at least is what we learned from the American our midterms. Democracy does matter to a good portion of people.
Yes,
absolutely.
It does. And who would have thought? Who would have thought? And did you know that on January 31st, online word puzzle Wordle was bought for a low 7-figure sum by the New York Times? Do you guys miss Wordle? Were you guys part of the Wordle fad? I was for a solid 2 weeks.
I still do it every day.
One time. I did not know what it was.
Every day.
I've seen 3 headlines of Wordle. When it started, when they bought it, and then like a week or 2 ago when they went on strike and they said nobody play it. And that's the extent of understanding that I have with Wordle. I do not care.
I saw like 2 people I know who were like putting them up on their stories on Instagram every day. Other than that, I didn't even I was just like, oh, okay.
Another fad, like when I don't remember the last time a game like that, like, you know, as we were growing up, app games are pretty popular, from Subway Surfers to
Angry Birds.
Temple
Yeah.
Run, Angry Birds. They didn't really have
Farmville.
that for a while. Farmville.
Well, that's because a lot of it.
Spoilers. Rocky just showed
I think it
everyone
was pretty
today's
blurry. I don't think you can read it.
Wordle, so.
I still do it
Spoiler
every-
alert.
It was
for this
also
section.
it was one of the most Googled words throughout
Yeah.
the entire year, though.
Yeah.
Like there was a graph that came up that showed like trendy words would spike when they were trending and then just die off almost immediately. But Wordle was one of the ones that was consistent throughout the entire year.
Was it people look at the answers?
Google it all the time. Just
I'm sure it
Wordle,
was,
to
yes.
get to the website. Like they'll just Google
I'm sure
I
Wordle.
some
always
people
typed
look
that
for the
do.
answers.
I always typed a do to cheat. That was my cheating hack. But it was nice while it lasted. But
it's
we'll
still
see
around,
if there's
and-
another game.
There will be another thing that pops off for like 10 minutes. But a lot of it, when you talk about the games, is because most of it's microtransactions.
Mhm.
That's where a lot of the
Not this one, actually. This
No,
one.
you
Well, no,
can't-
not
you
this
can't
one.
buy
And
anything
part
in
of it
this
is
one.
because it seemed to be targeted more at an older generation.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that had a different type of appeal than like something like Angry Birds.
Right. Or a Temple Run or whatever. Yeah. No, absolutely.
See if they make the Whirl movie.
Oh,
Wordle
no,
There's a Wordle game show, like a Wordle board game. So it's
I will take
The
that.
movie. Starring Ryan Gosling.
Monopoly game too. So like they'll just make board games out of everything.
I'll take that. On February 1st, at the age of 44, Tom Brady, regarded as the greatest NFL quarterback of all time, renounces his retirement after a 22-year career and a record 7 Super Bowl titles with the Patriots and Buccaneers. We will see if this lasts. So then a few days later, did you remember that there was the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing?
No.
Was that
I
this
did.
year?
This year there was a Winter Olympics. I couldn't tell you one thing that happened.
Wait,
No
was this
idea.
the one where Simone Biles dropped
she
out?
quit.
No.
She's
Was
not in
that
the
one-
Winter Olympics. She's a summer.
That's
Olympics.
summer.
That was the
That's
summer.
summer.
See, I don't know when anything is anymore.
Yeah, that's summer.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
anything happen at the Winter Olympics? I have no idea.
Was this?
I
was
think
this
Shaun
last time,
White-
right?
Yeah, Sean White
Oh,
retired this time
This
around.
is the one that was in China, and they had that picture of the stadium surrounded by all that like disgusting like smog or something like that. Do you remember that one photo?
Yeah.
Listen, every
Yes, I do,
time,
yes.
look,
Yeah.
every country that hosts these things, the stadiums are never ready. It's always a bird. Like once they leave, it's always a disaster. It's like a nice
Yeah, a
thing
lot of
for
them
like
become
10 minutes,
abandoned.
and then it's
Salt Lake City made it.
Yeah,
Who-
but we have the infrastructure here in this country.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
like it's
it's
not like
gonna be
Qatar where
environment,
you have to
so.
spend like a decade just to put all the stadiums in place.
Well, yeah, they've got more stadiums than people in Qatar now.
More stadiums
And-
than rights, that's for sure.
And
Yeah,
on February 13th, Super Bowl 56 happens at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. The Los Angeles Rams beat the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20, and MVP of the Super Bowl is Cooper Kupp. And look how far both teams have gone since then.
Can I say something very? I have something very important. I count this as my win as a Lions fan. I count that as our win.
With
that-
Matt
that-
Stafford winning.
Listen, Jared Goff is still terrible. We were like good for 1 week. I should have been on the pod last week before we played the Panthers because that was like the height of our season. We were like we were rolling. People were like, look out for the Lions, and then we got curb stomped. But no, like
It's not over for the Lions yet.
Huh?
No, let's not write off the Lions just yet. They're not done.
no, let's write
Or
off
just
the
they're
say,
not
Lions.
done.
I want a higher pick.
Lions.
I want
I'll tell you what,
pick.
if the Lions get in as a 7th seed, they will beat the Vikings in the first round.
That would be so much fun.
I think that the real
I got
Super
the
Bowl,
Vikings just losing in the first round no matter who faces them. Like
the real
fuck the
Super Bowl
Vikings.
was the Chiefs versus the Bills last
No,
year.
that game was so crazy. That game
Yeah,
was
that
so.
was
I
good.
can't. I'm
Yes.
so happy they're gonna play each other forever.
And the
I
Josh
cannot wait
Allen
for the
and
game.
Patrick Mahomes bout that took place in the end of January. Gabe Davis goes
31
off.
points in like 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good
we
Super
had
Bowl
Patrick
though,
Mahomes comeback.
honestly. And it was nice. It was nice to see a team other than like the usual suspects in the Super Bowl with like the Bengals.
Not a
for
Tom Brady
instance.
team.
It's like the
Mhm.
Bengals hadn't won a playoff game in like my entire life, well, not almost my entire lifetime. Like up until last year, the stat going into the postseason was that no one has ever texted someone that the Bengals won a playoff game, because the first text wasn't sent until after the Bengals had won their last playoff game in 1992. So
Again, see
I
how
thought that
far
was
we've
pretty
come.
cool.
All right, we're gonna have to dampen the mood for this, but it is a significant event in this year. On February 24th, Russian leader Vladimir Putin announces the start of a special military operation in Ukraine to dematerialize the country moments before Russia launches a full-scale pre-dawn invasion by land, air, and sea, with bombings in several cities amid international condemnation. AKA, the war in Ukraine begins on this day. Now, whether your views on the war, regarding foreign aid, regarding the handling of this war, it has been a cloud over this year, and it will continue until fire is ceased. But at least on the other side, thinking about this war and what it means to you or what you see, like, can you believe how far it is still here, unfortunately, on this, as we're about to go into 2023, that this military conflict is still taking place, especially with how society is advancing and we're still fighting, having ground troops fighting each other amongst two nations?
I don't think that's no. The fact that it's not like totally mechanical warfare is different. The fact that the war is still currently going on and that Russia is more or less on the defensive is a goddamn miracle.
Yes.
I know.
I disagree.
So because we were the way everything kicks off, and then it always happens at like 3 a.m. here when all like the big updates for like that first week. Is Ukraine's still a country? And like that first weekend was when they were bombing the power plant the first week. And I remember saying, oh, they're just going to blow up this power plant. We're all going to die.
Yeah, it was Chernobyl.
Yeah. And then they went to Kyiv, and then they got stuck in Kyiv. They got stuck on the way, and that was like unbelievably. We had the Snake Island, fuck you battleship guys. We had the Ghost of Kyiv. Look,
Both false, by the way.
No, the recording.
Yes,
false.
they were both
dead.
false.
Yeah, no, they were both false.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
I
mean,
they
It
were
was
both
the
false.
morale for it. Look, this war is just, it's really crazy. I mean, it's like decimated Russia. I mean, it's decimated Ukraine too, but they've like the Russian army is just done so poorly on so many levels. It's like unbelievable.
I don't know that it's decimated Russia, but it's definitely embarrassed them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassed the hell out of them, and it's definitely exposed them as not this perennial superpower that we all thought they were, because they are struggling to face a nation that, granted, is getting weapons supplied to them by us at a basically a conveyor belt pace. There's just no stopping it whatsoever. You asked, am I surprised this is still going on? Hell no, I'm not surprised. Did you see us leave Afghanistan back in September of 2021? Do you really think the defense contractors aren't going to keep getting paid? They were going to find a way. They just found a way.
Yeah, but it was more, it's the difference between having a standing army versus funding an insurgency. Like, that was the thought, that it would be an insurgency versus like them still having like the capabilities that they have. Like, that's where the difference is. That's where
I am surprised that Russia seems so inadequate in, I guess, like in finishing this off, because it either tells me that they can't or they won't for some reason. I can't figure out what they won't. And so if they can't, that is just humiliating.
Right. That's where
it really is.
And also, like, the stuff around it is truly wild. Like the where people break on the different things, whether it's the Zelensky's a Nazi, or NATO's at fault for this, or somehow Donald Trump would have made some type of difference, or FTX's money laundering for the Democrats into Ukraine, or like it is just a hotbed of just so much weirdness and just crazy town stuff that is.
There's always fringe takes, though. I mean, if Trump was in office and he was doing the exact same things that Biden's doing right now, I can guarantee you that the Democrats would be issuing the exact same attacks at Trump that the Republicans are currently attacking Biden with.
I don't agree.
I guarantee it would be the exact same line of rhetoric.
I don't think they would have. I don't think that Trump would have taken the same actions Biden would have taken.
I'm saying if that happens,
Yes, but
there would be no difference in rhetoric being said because no one really cares about being anti-war.
I disagree. I do not think that there would be Democrats saying that Donald Trump is supporting a Nazi who is
Of course they would.
They would be calling. You think that we would have like Rachel Maddow doing?
They were calling him Hitler when he was in office.
No. But that's different. It's different for them referring to Trump having authoritarian tendencies versus the way that the right is characterizing Ukraine as a Nazi adjacent because of the Azov battalion. Like there's a difference there. That's where like it's a much fringier, more insane response. Like, would they be criticizing Trump on things? Probably. I don't know what they would be criticizing them in the same way they were criticizing Biden, but I don't think it would be the same. We certainly wouldn't be having mass monologues from, I don't know who the most popular left-wing host is, Rachel Maddow. Like she like left this year. Chris Hayes?
I mean, I can foresee it. I think the only thing I'm trying to say here, Fresh Faces,
in the same way that Tucker is doing. That's where
I think the only thing I'm trying to say here is that I think that both parties are pro-war. And so whenever one of them comes out as like anti-war, it just feels like a farce. It's just fake to me. You know, like they're both pro-war, and it's always hilarious whenever one of them pretends not to be. It's like, please shut up. You know damn well that if your party was in power, you'd be beating the war drums too.
Oh, so no, I mean, like authorization, we would absolutely be authorizing. They would still be authorizing the same money. I don't disagree with that. I think that where I disagree with you is that they would be saying the same type of criticisms that the right is. Like we're looking at a echo bubble that's insane. Like they're like, if you imagine FTX happens under a Donald Trump administration, do you think that the number one left cable news is going to say that it's a money laundering scheme and that they are doing this to hide all the money that they're taking and putting in Ukraine, or that they're going to spend all this money on Ukraine because that's why the border isn't defended, or they're spending all this money in Ukraine and that's why you can't get baby formula or whatever new argument they're blaming the Ukrainian.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I think the attacks would be different, but the attacks would come, and they would come along the same lines.
In honesty, they would become, because let's be real, Donald Trump would be siding with Putin. That's where the attacks would come.
I don't know about that there. I was actually going to interject here just a bit. We have some politically minded folks on this panel here, so maybe you guys like podcasters. Yeah, maybe you guys like The West Wing. Maybe you guys hate Aaron Sorkin. But either way, there's a particular scene that comes to mind whenever anyone, and I do mean anyone, talks about the war in Ukraine in front of me, in which he talks about polling for foreign aid and how 69% of people, again, this is not real numbers, this is just for the TV show, think we give too much, but only, what was it, like 54% think we should cut it back. So there's a segment of people who answer the question with, we give too much away in foreign aid, and they don't believe we should stop. I don't believe, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't actually know everyone's bio on this panel, I don't believe any of us are truly, truly qualified to understand the geopolitics that are going on our side. I'm not talking about war. War is pretty straightforward. When it comes to how we're authorizing money, where we're authorizing money, etc. I do think, Desmond, you're correct. I think that you would replace the border wall with healthcare. I think you would replace baby formula with student debt. And I think it'd be the exact same conversation. It would say we can give X amount of money to whichever side, whether I believe Trump or another Republican would support Putin over Ukraine is really not material to this. I think you're right. The same attacks would be coming on. And I think it's because people here in this country don't understand foreign politics. That's why they bring it back home. That's why they bring it back to domestic issues. That's why they say, well, this is why our border's not secure. Well, this is why you can't buy baby food. Not necessarily because they believe these things, but because when talking to the voter is not thinking about Ukraine. They're not. They don't, none of them, not the Democratic voter, not the Republican voter, not the moderate, independent, whatever middle voter that we try and find every year and cater to. No one will care rather about the Ukrainian conflict in any real way if there are any domestic issues that they can latch onto instead. And that's why they try and make these domestic issues when they come up. And that's why these attacks happen the way they happen. It's why war is good for defense contractors. War is difficult for politicians because you can't spin positive, especially something like this. You can't spin too many positives for domestic. Like there's not really a domestic interest in how this unfolds. There's not a straight up domestic interest. Obviously, if Russia takes over, then we could be looking at another a really big superpower in Europe with some harsh things to say about the West very recently. But it's just, to me, the Ukraine is obviously, this is a tragic conflict. The war is absolutely deplorable. Russia should be admonished by all of the world's leaders. But there's nothing here domestically that is going to make this stick beyond whatever, Tucker Carlson or I guess Rachel Maddow, if we're using the alternative theory we set up earlier, would say, because there's no real domestic implication to this.
Well, there is. We have domestic implications. There's, even if we're ignoring that, let's pretend we live in a fantasy
I have a
world.
final point on this one for Bob.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is like, there's certain things that you're gonna go and we're gonna go just like way over.
No, I know. So
this is actually kind of similar to the funding to the government funding bill. Let's pretend we live in a world where we're weighing directly the money between giving aid to Ukraine and like funding healthcare. Like, in that world, it's a different story, but that world doesn't exist. We're not going to give this money to Ukraine and then spend it on healthcare. Like, if we lived in that world, we'd have a different conversation. And as for domestic issues, this is directly tied to domestic issues. We know that a third of the world's grain comes from Ukraine. We know that there is massive energy reserves out of Ukraine, and that directly impacted both food and gas prices. So having a way so it is possible to tie these things together. How you do it requires, some deft touch. So we didn't do a great job at, mostly because these things are more complicated than just one thing happens and then it's like a whole domino.
Which was my point. No one, yes, you're right. Obviously, we don't live in a world where funding for Ukraine and funding for government services are directly tied, but you try and explain that to Middle America, and we'll see how that goes.
Right, and then and then can I just very briefly just on the foreign aid point? It all depends on how you phrase the foreign aid. Like, if you want to say we're going to give foreign aid to Israel, you're not going to hear people arguing about. Well, you're not going to hear people who normally complain about foreign aid complaining about it. But if you say we're giving it to Tunisian sexual education dance classes, then they're gonna like lose their shit over it. So again, a lot of this comes down to framing and how you want to respond to a lunch.
So on March 1st, DC film The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, directed and written by Matt Reeves, premieres in New York, kick launching a legitimately great Batman series once again. Have you guys seen The Batman?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent segue. And yes, I have.
It was a good segue.
Do we agree that Robert Pattinson, one of the best Bruce Waynes or Batmans? I say yes.
Are you including the animated ones?
No one
Are we
includes those.
including Gotham?
You have to include those because he's right. Kevin Conroy's the best Batman.
Always will be. Jason O'Mara is a close second.
I'm with you, Rocky. Yeah. Kevin
All
Conroy.
right, yes, I will
I
continue that. I will include
Can I
that.
say
Yes,
something
you can
just like
count
very,
the
very
animated.
briefly?
Yes.
I wasn't a huge fan of this movie.
Really?
And maybe because I thought he would be it'd be a little different. I thought you kind of could have replaced the Batman with a different, like, just rough guy detective, and he kind of would have been the same movie.
That's kind of what Batman is, though.
Right, but like that's not really what we've been known to have. Like, to me, this seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed, I just wasn't a huge fan of it. I felt like he was too much like replaceable. Like, this could have been a like a Die Hard movie, and I don't think that much would have changed if we replaced him with like John Wayne or whatever the fuck Bruce Willis's character is. But look, I thought he was fine in the role. But I wasn't like a huge fan.
I mean, in the comic book world, you're going to have different iterations of characters all the time. So I mean, over the years, I mean, since I've been alive, we've had I mean, I'd have to think about it here for a second, like what, like 7 different Batmans at this point, since
Yeah.
1990.
At
I
least.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Michael
Keaton,
Keaton, Val
Bale.
Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Pattinson. I throw Kevin Conroy in there. I mean,
Mhm.
so yeah, there's lots of different flavors to Batman. This isn't my favorite version of Batman, but I don't hate it. I do like that they went more emphasis on the detective angle, because that is who Batman's supposed to be, the greatest detective on the planet.
Mhm.
So that was a cool new wrinkle, but a little too emo for me, just personally. But just maybe
Yeah.
just not my favorite Batman.
I kind of agree with that in that the Bruce Wayne was a little too much like a recluse. Like Bruce Wayne is like a playboy
He
kind
was
of.
very solid.
Yeah, it's supposed to be magnetic.
He's supposed
That
to
was my
be
favorite part.
a
Actually.
billionaire playboy. And then have Batman be, Batman. So that would be my one, honestly, like my one critique with that movie is that Pattinson's a little too quiet as Bruce Wayne. But beyond that, I think that it was a decent iteration of the Riddler. I thought that was a
Oh, I hated
positive.
that part.
I know you did, but I kind of
That's
liked
why
it.
you said it.
And,
That's why you
Feels
said
more
it.
like Hushed, but
and
which
Hush is going to be the
Yeah.
second, is a rumor going to be the second film is going to be Hush, which is going to be insane because
Who's Hush?
Hush. Well, do you really want to know?
Yeah,
I don't
like,
think we
I
have
just-
time for that.
Like
it's not that
give me
hard. It's the
quick
Riddler.
notes, like,
It's the Riddler, but
it's the Riddler.
yeah, that's kind
He
of
becomes he gets like traumatized and kind of just like becomes
Oh,
like
you're
a darker
oh.
version of himself.
Yeah, he has a brain tumor and goes crazy.
oh, it's a different Riddler. It's not the Enigma Riddler.
No, it's the
Uh,
same Riddler.
It's the same Riddler.
Far from the Jim Carrey Riddler.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
They made an
I mean,
animated movie about it. I thought the animated movie was
Listen,
great.
I just
It
want
was-
the
it
Riddler
was a
from
very
Gotham.
good.
I want the
Yeah,
Riddler
it
and the
was,
Penguin.
one
from
of the
Gotham.
last
That's it.
ones in that DC animated universe too. Before
Before they did the reboot.
yeah, well, no, just before they ended it. Yeah,
With Dark Apocalypse War.
Dark Apocalypse War, which was
That's a
insane.
great movie.
That was so good.
Insane, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they also did, one thing people overlooked was they brought back the chemical vat Joker for a scene. It was not the face paint Joker.
Yeah.
Which implies that there could possibly be a Killing Joke movie, or there could possibly even just
Who knows at this point, now that
That dude,
what's the dude
that
took
dude
over?
did
James
stuff.
Gunn took over. I mean, it's not like they're redoing everything now. They're like, yeah, we're getting Henry Cavill out of here.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 3 is dead. All that other stuff
second
is
one was awful.
gone.
No Black Adam.
I was actually going to say that the issue with the Joker is that the actor who played the Joker has gotten into trouble recently in that scene.
Did he really?
That doesn't matter.
he's
Ezra
replaceable.
Miller's still the Flash.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, but they still
I
I
don't
mean-
quite understand
Oh,
how
no,
how they kept their Flash hood. But
was the
You
Joker
got
a
me.
deleted scene too? I don't even remember if that even made it in the movie.
Yeah, that was
end,
deleted
end
scene.
credits.
It
It was
was-
end credits.
Oh, end credit.
Oh,
I saw it
That
in the
was
end credits.
the post super. Oh no, that was the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
No.
In the end credits, he was talking to the Riddler in jail. That's what they showed. If they have another scene where they showed the person's face, then yes, it was deleted. I just know that whatever contract they had with that particular actor, I don't know the stance of it, but given, like you said, the cuts they're making anyway, I can't imagine that they're going to, take that kind of negative publicity for another effing Joker. Because no offense, I know you guys seem to be all bigger Batman fans to me, which is fine. I don't need to see the Joker, frankly, ever again. We've done him to death, and we need to give some other people a chance, or make a new one. I don't even.
they are doing another sequel with Harley Quinn being played by Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga, yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone.
I mean,
just not.
at least
I'm not
it's
here
Harley
for the
Quinn.
musical. I'm really
I'm
not.
ready for
The
it.
musical.
Like, I mean, if that's gonna be like something that you like put on like Netflix,
Gonna
like
sing
cool,
his
but like
song.
don't make my like theater experience a musical. This is the Joker. What?
Joker sang in the
Not
animated
good.
series.
Listen, if you
a
want
bunch.
to go
I
see a good
mean,
musical movie,
How
Film
is
Red
the
was
sequel
fantastic.
to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie gonna be a musical? Like,
I think it's just
Horrible.
it's all going to be in his head again.
come on. Now.
Horrible. I agree. They shouldn't make a sequel. It was good. End it. No more Joker.
Yeah, we didn't need
I like
one
the
that threw their
Penguin.
timeline out to Joker being like an 85-year-old man fighting Batman.
I mean,
A tier villain. The Penguin needs some
Yes,
real
can
respect.
we get the Gotham show Penguin? As
I
the
don't
actor
care who.
thing?
Don't
I
care
mean,
who it
he
is.
did have an HBO Max show that was supposed to be coming. I don't know if it's still coming or not, but
I'm surprised they
they
haven't
were already
renamed
filming
it.
it.
the Penguin, villain of the Batman.
No, they had what's the guy's name? Colin Farrell playing the
No,
lead.
no, I want
Did a
the
very
one.
good job.
Colin Farrell did very good. I really like that.
Did a very good
A
job.
tier villain. That's who the next Batman villain should be. I don't
No,
really
it
care
should
about
be
any
the
rest.
Penguin. Listen, go watch the Gotham. The Penguin from the Gotham is like
He
the
could
best
do it
Penguin.
too.
He's so
We could
good.
do a Penguin into the Penguin verse.
Into the
The Penguin Pig.
Speaking
It's Colin Farrell's Penguin. Danny DeVito shows up for a deleted scene. Penguin verse. I'm in it, but it's got to be the Penguin next.
of someone who could be a Batman villain, on March 8th, reigning NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers agrees to remain with the Green Bay Packers for a reported 4-year, $200 million deal, making him the highest paid player in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, we all love talking about him, whether you're a sports fan or not. He might will his team back in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers,
Can they actually make the playoffs?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
Yes, technically they're still mathematically in it. Has Aaron Rodgers earned this contract so far? Does he deserve more of our attention?
I am immunized against football, so I don't have the best understanding. So Desmond will probably have to jump in here soon. I will say, though, two things. One, I think it might be slander. You called him a Batman villain. You should really check on those rules. But also, I do think that if you're winning games, you're winning games. And in football, that's really all that matters. The extracurriculars, there have been people with way worse extracurriculars than even Aaron Rodgers, who have not lost big money contracts. Some have, and that's changing. But I think if they make the playoffs, and especially if they get a deep run in the playoffs, then yeah, I do think that the Packers made probably a smart decision, especially given, betting on older quarterbacks doesn't always pay off, as a team down in Florida is starting to see, and several teams have seen in the past as well. I do think that if Aaron Rodgers has a deep run in the playoffs, then that would be a strong indication that the money was pretty well spent by the Packers.
Well, so I have a question on this, just because I haven't followed this as deeply. This is not the Packers taking a step back is not because of like a Russell Wilson fell off the cliff and forgot how to play football. This is more because they kind of like gutted all their weapons, and their team just isn't very good.
I don't know how to give this a good basketball analogy, but I guess maybe maybe the Lakers might be a good thing here. But like, imagine you have a really great player on a team, and then the organization's like, you know what, we're not going to do? We're not going to put great pieces around you. Why? Because we don't give a shit. That's why.
Yeah.
And then basically we just hope you can swim. And if you don't, then we're blaming you. And I feel like that's basically what Aaron Rodgers has been this year. He's had to like basically deal with a team that has no weapons put around him. They refused to go out and get any like good wide receivers in free agency. They didn't get any at the trade deadline. They don't really build up anything on offense. They build a bunch up on defense. The defense is still mediocre. They went out and got a coach who tried to implement a system that's counter to what he's good at as far as like his own playing style. And yeah, he's not like the best leader on the field. He can kind of be, a prima donna sometimes, and sometimes it feels like he kind of like gives up on the game. But when he's actually invested, he's still a top 5 quarterback, and he's worth the money. So, I mean, if you're going to have him on your team, you might as well put good pieces around him. And if you're not going to put good pieces on the team, then you might as well not sign him. So, I mean, Green Bay organization, what the fuck are they doing?
I mean, look,
$1 million question.
It makes no sense.
So my understanding when just reading off the ringer from some of this stuff was he could have also hosted Jeopardy simultaneously to doing this.
I don't think he was.
I think he probably just should have. I think it would have made Jeopardy more entertaining.
I'm sure he gets paid a lot more money in the NFL.
Yeah, well, he can do both. As long as he's not talking about COVID, I'm fine.
On March 10th, after a 99-day lockout, Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association agreed to a new collective bargaining agreement. MLB players played a full 162-game season. Baseball. Listen, I know baseball is a very regional sport. I know that it's not exactly like the 1940s where it was the biggest thing on the planet, but at least with this and baseball really threatening its appeal after this season, do we feel that at least Major League Baseball, whether you have an interest in it or not, do you think it still will be able to have any legitimacy? Will it bring fandom, whether it's people like Aaron Judge with his 62 home run season, or if you care about the Astros winning a World Series, not cheating? Do we see baseball? It'll never come close to the NFL in popularity, but it does have the same amount of views as the NBA, and NHL isn't close. But do we think baseball will ever be a dying sport like the NHL in appeal, even to a casual fan or not a big sports fan,
Baseball
even
is
after a
so
lockout like
boring.
this?
It's so boring. I can't watch it.
No, I agree. It is boring as shit. That's actually my answer to this question is, what is their popularity among millennials and younger? Because I don't know that many people who care, and
No,
like it's
you're
not
not
like
wrong.
like it's not gonna be like nobody cares about hockey because it's like half played in Canada, and that's like nobody gives a shit about that. In the same way that like we don't care about soccer because it's played mostly everywhere. We're Americans. The issue with baseball is you have to figure out how to get a younger generation, and it's hard to do with a sport that's kind of boring. Like it works for golf because like the mystique of golf is like tied into like business and stuff and like being wealthy and that way. But like watching baseball is boring.
I mean, you want to see wealthy, watch a bunch of multimillionaires haggle with a bunch of billionaires while regular people don't get to see their baseball games, which is how this season started. I don't think it will die. I don't think it will die, despite, both the players and the team's best efforts to kill it. Because I do think that baseball has some sort of, this is going to sound real corny and real old, has some sort of spot in like the American DNA from way back when. Yeah, it's like it's latent. It's not at the front at all. It's certainly way down deep, but I do think it's there. I do think that going to baseball games live is probably still the most fun I have at live events, despite not ever watching the game on television. I actually went to a Mets game, and I'm theoretically a Mets fan, and I didn't know anyone on the field. One of the Nationals fans actually had to tell me who our shortstop was and why that was a big deal. I had no idea. So I do think that there will always be a place for baseball. I don't know how you're going to make it more exciting because there's a lot of downtime, and millennials, Gen Z, we're not big on downtime. We're not big on breaks. So I do agree that might be an issue, but I really can't see. I don't know what they're going to do. So it's kind of really silly for me to say, oh, they won't die. I don't know how, but they won't. But that's essentially what I'm saying. I don't think they will. I think there will always be some sort of just innately American fascination with baseball to some degree, especially regionally. It might fall into NHL territory, but it won't ever really be gone.
It's a regional game. It's a regional game. It'll always be a regional game. I mean, the people of the Boston metro area love baseball. The people in the Philadelphia metro area love baseball. People of Chicago metro area love baseball. It depends on where you're at in the country. And they have a unique niche in the sense that because they play in the summertime every single day, you can put it on TV as boredom. And they get paid crazy ad dollars for it, which is why they have 162 game seasons, because people can just like put it on casually, and they're always going to be able to like generate a lot of revenue that way. Plus, going to baseball games is really cheap. You can go to most big games for like less than $20, depending on where you're at and where you want to sit. It's an event to do. So, I mean, it'll never be basketball or football in this country, but I think it'll always maintain because of the fact that it's just so accessible. And as they add in this pitch clock going forward, and they focus more on finding ways to manufacture more points, because that's really what you need to lock in the younger generation. You need to be able to score more. People need points, which is why I can't watch soccer. But yeah, I think baseball has baseball's it'll find a way to maintain. It'll never be the NFL, but it'll find a way to maintain, especially as they move it more towards streaming.
Baseball is one of those sports where the analytical revolution had a negative impact because a lot of it up scoring for baseball, for football and basketball and things like that made the game faster. But if you're analytically doing pitching and stuff, that's going to slow the game down. Like it's going to be longer and less excitement. So they have to.
Yeah,
figure out
they're
how to
addressing
do
that a little bit now with getting rid of a shift and, you know, putting on this pitch clock. And I got to say, I think baseball is boring too, but I watch the playoffs every year. And this past postseason was probably the most exciting that I've seen in like maybe a decade. So I thought it was great top to bottom. And I was encouraged for the playoffs next year, which is probably when I'll tune in again next October.
Yeah, so the next sport that happens to be a sports story as well, then we're switching it up. This is all chronological. After a 40-day retirement, record-breaking quarterback Tom Brady announces he will play at least one more season in the NFL. As of today, he is having his team play for a win-and-you're-in game. Reckon his team has had a very difficult season. And this year, he has been divorced. He's lost the most games he's had in a regular season. I'll have to ask this. Was it worth it for Tom Brady to play one more season?
No, of course not. His life just fell apart this year, and he may not even make the playoffs.
He needs the
Hey,
money,
for all
though.
you know, he was happy to get out of that marriage. You know?
Wow,
mean,
have you
money
seen
than
him?
him?
But have you seen him? He
I
doesn't
mean-
look that happy.
I
He
mean,
wants a lot
happiness
of
can
money.
take on many forms. I mean, he could secretly be ecstatic.
If happiness could take on the form of crippling depression that's visible through television screens, then you might be right. But no, I don't believe he's happy.
He could be
I
sad
think-
because the TB12 diet just sucks. You know that you might be misinterpreting that.
I think he's very
His
upset.
almonds right now.
Yeah, crying into his almonds. I think
Okay,
he
so-
should have left.
So the question, the real question is he coming back next year and where is he going?
There's a rumor that he is.
Honestly,
Honestly, it
Has to double
doesn't
down.
honestly really matter. I mean, whenever he does retire, he's still going to be making a truckload of money. He has a 10-year deal with Fox for $375 million, which goes into effect the minute he retires.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's not even done with football when he is done with football. So I don't know. It feels irrelevant at this point. As long as somebody wants him, he'll probably be back. I think what it is for Tom Brady is an addiction. He's only ever known football, and he doesn't know how to walk away from it. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, you saw the stat that he literally has lived half of his life in the NFL as a starter.
Yeah, it's insane.
A day
gonna
that
hop
will
out 'cause
live in-
I'm lagging for a second.
A day that will live in infamy. March 27th, 94th Academy Awards takes place. Coda wins Best Picture. Champion wins Best Director. Jessica Chastain wins Best Actress. And there is a guy named Will Smith. He won Best Actor. But we know the big story as Chris Rock is presenting the Best Documentary Feature. He makes a joke toward Jada Pinkett Smith, leading Will Smith to go up to him and slap him in the face. The slap heard around the world. And that legitimately was a big story for 2 days. Looking back, did Will Smith do the right thing?
yes,
No,
Okay.
yes, he did.
no, he didn't.
He made the documentary films category pretty entertaining, I suppose. But
Is Will,
no.
Can Will Smith bounce back from this?
Oh, sure.
He will.
Yeah.
Everyone has a short-term memory and with these things.
Yeah, he'll be fine. If that's the question, yeah, he'll be fine.
It was an inside job with the Academy to get people to watch. You're in a room full of actors. It makes
Trained
sense.
actors.
Everyone saw it coming.
Yeah,
they
but
were
Chris Rock
actors.
isn't a good actor. So I mean, you're asking him to act in that moment. Yeah, yeah.
Chris,
He was
Chris
doing
Rock's
things
all,
that didn't know.
all of Chris Rock's bad acting is a psyop. Come on, bud. We got this. I'm with you, Rocky. Let's run
Yeah,
it all the way
thank you.
down. We
The
have matching
Academy
tinfoil
Awards-
hats.
The Academy Awards are awful. I haven't seen
Well-
one in like 10 years. And then they do stuff like this. Like last year, they had that person misread the best movie of the year or whatever. I don't even remember.
That was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, they got people to watch
Moonlight.
it for that because they
Moonlight?
screwed
Yeah,
up.
for Moonlight.
Yeah.
That was
That was like 4 years
fun.
ago.
I don't know when that was, but I'm saying there are very convenient things that happen at these award shows that, I mean, come on, it's just for ratings. They tank, they have a controversy, they go up, they tank, they have a controversy. In 4 years,
If they want to have consistent
that.
ratings, they should just have Ricky Gervais on every year.
That was funny.
Or celebrity cage matches, apparently.
I just don't understand how Cha Cha Real Smooth didn't get a Best Picture nomination this year.
I can't understand. This is putting on my future cap how they put Thor: Love and Thunder, which I liked. I know other people don't. How they put that movie in for consideration for Best Picture. Marvel, what are you doing, kiddo? What's going on?
I got
It's
nothing
not even
there.
the best Thor movie.
Yeah, never.
I got nothing. I mean, if I was gonna put any Marvel movie up for a Best Picture, that would not be even in my top 15 of choices.
I don't think Marvel had a movie that would realistically win Best Picture for the upcoming.
I'm thinking back through like all of their movies. I'm just like, if you were to put any Marvel movie up for Best Picture consideration,
it wouldn't be that one.
Yeah, that wouldn't even be close.
I really like that movie.
It's not even the best Thor movie.
No, it's not the best Thor movie.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, to be fair, not that it has a whole lot of competition.
Right,
the first two were terrible.
Thor, both the first two, the first two Thors were real bad. So it is definitely a top Thor movie, based purely on
elimination.
Yeah, but I actually really did enjoy the movie. I ended up seeing it twice, not on purpose, but I ended up seeing it twice, and it was still not bad. It was worse the second time, but not so bad. First time I thought it was really good. But it's definitely not Best Picture. And I probably haven't seen the other movies in the Best Picture category, but I can just, put on my thinking cap and decide, oh, maybe the middle of the road Thor movie isn't the best movie of the year of 2022. So that was the future corner with Ryan. Proceed.
All right, March 30th. Unfortunately, on this day, rock band Foo Fighters canceled their world tour after the unexpected death of their drummer Taylor Hawkins in Bogota, Colombia. Since then, they have played, they've had tribute concerts to Mr. Hawkins, but definitely a damper in the music industry that day. I want to talk about this. And do we see rock and roll ever making a mainstream comeback in any way, shape, or form? There has not been a #1 rock song since 2007 on the Hot Billboard 100. And I know there are bands that release music all the time, but it just doesn't get that appeal when you have to compete with Dua Lipa's and Taylor Swift's and stuff like that.
That Maneskin song did very well on the radio. Obviously, like you said, not top 100 and maybe they don't consider that straight up rock and roll, but I would say, and I think that might be part of this. I think that you have to look at it as what is rock now? What does rock sound like right now? So again, I don't know where that song peaked in terms of the charts, but I know that song got played constantly on like Spotify playlists. It got played constantly on the actual radio. And that if they're not calling that a rock song, I know it's a cover of an older Frankie Valli and Four Seasons song. So if they're not calling that a rock song, they really should. Yeah, they really should. And I'd be curious to see what they do call it, because again, that was a very popular song. So I think with the right band, the right song, they could appear on the top 100 list again. I don't think we're gonna have like the rock stars like we used to have. Like this person's a rock star. But
unless you say like Machine Gun Kelly's a rock star.
Well, he thinks he is, which is half the battle.
Fake it until you make it. April 3rd, 2022. History was made in Dallas, Texas. Roman Reigns beats Brock Lesnar, unifying the WWE Universal and WWE Championship, and he's been champion ever since. Guys, please don't jump over yourselves. Tell me your thoughts on this historic event and run.
I'm deferring to
Podcast
Ryan.
host, Matt Brown, podcast host. If I say nothing, this segment is ruined, correct? If I sit here quietly, this segment is over, yes?
We're
Wait,
just
I
seeing how far we
I
can
have
go.
one statement, but other than that, I don't care.
Oh, let's see the statement. I'm actually.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fake, and I don't give a shit.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, I think that since you clearly put this question in for me, we talked about it when it happened on your show. Me and AJ the Man. People should watch those shows, by the way. It was a big deal. It's definitely run its course. Cannot wait for it to be over. I will now briefly address the fake comment. So too is every show you've ever watched. It's okay. We do know it's fake. Us fans, we are fully aware that it is scripted television, just like Breaking Bad, although Breaking Bad is better acted and better written and better produced, and the lighting is better and the cameras are better. It is better, but they are both scripted television.
What was that movie? The one about the female wrestler that came out a couple years ago. That was pretty good.
The TV show Glow, very good.
No, not the
Oh.
no.
Hello is good.
You're talking about
Oh, Fighting with My Family. Fighting with My Family.
I enjoyed that. That was pretty good.
Fighting with My Family is very good. Also, some real wrestlers were in that as actors, like not wrestlers. So there you go.
We will see
Some of them
if wrestling
many,
takes
but some.
another step in the right direction of major popularity.
Probably
On
not.
April 17th, Alex Jones' company, including InfoWars, files for bankruptcy in the United States after losing a defamation suits against the families of the Sandy Hook massacre, which he considered a hoax. Man, Alex Jones, I hope we never hear from him again. Do we think he'll come back from this?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't go away. First off,
he never stopped.
There's a special place in hell for Alex Jones. There's a special place in hell for everyone who defends Alex Jones. Alex Jones, there's always going to be people like him. I'm sorry, I missed what you said, Rocky.
No, nothing.
I think he was
There's
pretending
always
to
going to
defend
be there's always going to be people like him. Ideally, there would be more consequences than like monetary, even though I don't know how much of that actually he's going to be able to pay, because he doesn't have whatever it's going to be like he's going to owe $2 billion because he's got like 4 more lawsuits that he has to lose. You can't sell that many supplement pills.
It's not
But
that. Not
but you can though. That's actually the bulk of his income.
What the
bulk of
supplement-
his income is from the supplements he sells on his show.
Yeah, but he's
Absolutely.
not sold $2 billion worth.
He doesn't need to. I'm going to make my statement quick on this because it has nothing to do with Alex Jones, but kind of. Our bankruptcy laws in America are fucking trash, because I've seen this with other things, kind of related to the Boy Scouts, something I covered on my podcast a year ago. You can file for bankruptcy and then basically just restart a new company, and whoever was coming after you previously can't continue to come after you, even if you do in fact have millions dollars, assets, what have you. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. At the same time, if you declare bankruptcy, you can't get rid of your student loan debt. So I mean, it's just kind of fun how they kind of structure these things. But Alex Jones is fine. I mean, my favorite Alex Jones moment of this year was the fact that he actually was taken off guard by Kanye West.
That
Who
was
ever
the
thought
best
that?
interview of the year. Straight up the funniest dude.
When did he?
Could you ever imagine Alex Jones finding himself actually finding a position that he was uncomfortable listening to?
No, I don't think
I
Alex
couldn't
Jones
believe what the
ever
fuck I was
imagined
witnessing.
that. Dude, the Netanyahu thing was like the funniest thing I think I've ever seen. That every part
Netanyahu.
of,
It took me a minute to realize who he was talking about, because it's Yoo-hoo.
Yoo-hoo,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
Net
that's-
and Yoo-hoo.
Net
It
and
was-
Yoo-hoo, like
listen, there's the biggest failure is that interview happened like a month ago and it has not been memed to hell. That
Probably everyone's afraid to put it online, because if Elon's willing to ban someone over that kind of stuff, then I guess no one's safe.
He didn't ban Kanye over that. He banned Kanye over posting this star with the swastika in it, and then the picture of Elon getting sprayed with the hose.
It did not have to do with the hose.
It absolutely
No,
had
it
to do with
did
the-
not.
Elon Musk is the thinnest
He even
skinned human
said it
being
didn't
on the
have to do with
planet.
the hose.
He's lying.
I feel like we'll get to Elon, but I will ask for you all seem a little bit more up to date on Alex Jones. When did he stop that van with his bare hands?
2 years ago,
Was-
I think.
That was 2 years ago. Okay, then never mind.
I think so.
Irrelevant.
It wasn't.
That
wasn't
is
this
still
year.
that is still my favorite Alex Jones moment. Is when
Yeah,
he
No,
tried
it's-
to stop a
Oh, I
car.
meant this year.
Gotcha,
I mean,
yes.
yeah, I mean, he also orchestrated the January 6th riot by himself, basically. So that's
he
cool.
appeared heavily in that stuff
Wow.
too.
I don't know if he organized it. Organization.
No, he was one of
feel
the-
like
He was one of the
Jones-
organizers. He was
For the
at
Stop the
the
Steal.
he was
Oh, I'm
down
sure
in
of that, but
Georgia
I'm saying-
several times, like
Yeah, he was
organizing.
organizing.
prior to
Organizing
that.
No,
and
no.
Alex Jones don't sound like they fit.
Well, no,
Together.
he can radicalize and mobilize people. He was able to mobilize people to show up for this. He was working with Ali Alexander and
Kind
whatever.
of like an
other-
ambassador for pumping people to get. Okay, I get.
well, he was there.
Yeah.
He.
Well, I believe he was there. That's the least shocking thing anyone said today.
Yeah. So yeah, no, look, Alex Jones can go to hell. Turning the freaking frogs gay is still going to be part of his legacy because it's objectively hysterical. I look, the dude has problems, and it's bad that we were able to make somebody with his level of mental instability, whether it's real or he's a psyop or whatever, was able to cause all the damage that he did.
Oh boy. April 19th, US inflation hits 8.5%, the highest since 1981, driven by the rise of gas prices, rent, and food. All we have to say, damn, this world is expensive AF. Am I right?
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean,
You know
No,
what? I'm
clearly
actually
we're
going to do
all-
everyone a favor, and I'm not going to speak on this subject. I'm just gonna give everyone a break here.
Yeah, it's too
Because it's
complicated
all-
to get into why all of it is like this, and it's no longer at 8%. It appears to be on the way down from the last reports.
It's
It'll be
insane
fun-
how complicated inflation actually is. The more I was trying to like look into it to do an episode on independent thought, the more it was infuriating.
It's going to be fun when the Fed crashes the economy because workers have too much rights. So because in order to fight inflation, that's not real anymore. So
Define fun.
Well, all right, hold on. We're not gonna get into it, obviously. All I was answering was Matt's question: is it expensive AF? The answer is objectively yes.
Yes.
Now we could discuss why, what that means, how it's being fixed, how
I'm
it's
not
changing.
going to.
I'm not
gonna
saying we
punt on this
should.
one.
We don't have time. I was just saying the objective true answer. Well, because we did this one time, Desmond. This is some inside baseball, and someone critiqued us. So the inside answer, the objective truth is yes, it is expensive AF. However, it's a complicated issue, as Desmond and Fresh Faces just said. So look into it before you make it be expensive. The only thing you know about the inflation that the country currently has.
If
And
people
it's-
really
it's-
want to know more about inflation, I promise to come back on and do a whole separate podcast because that's how
There you go.
much it literally takes. It
it's
takes its
not
own
because we
fucking
gave
podcast.
it's not because we gave people money to sit out the pandemic for
There's
them.
so many factors involved in it. Anyone who tells
Oh,
you it's
we
one
guys,
thing is
we are
lying to
jumping
you.
into it. We're jumping
Okay,
into
all
it.
right.
We said we wouldn't. We
It's
said
not
we
just
wouldn't.
one thing. That's all I'm going to say.
It is not just one thing. Agreed, 100%.
on this 420 this year, online streaming service Netflix suffers its first subscriber loss in a decade, losing 200,000 customers. And my question for you on this, with streaming, whether the streaming wars are continuing or they realize that it is a lost cause, how do we feel about seeing companies like a Netflix losing subscribers in this world where we claim to be cord cutting and all of that? Do we, even with this news, do we still feel this is going to be a heavy streamer world?
Well, haven't they all
Yeah.
taken hits?
Yeah, everybody has really suffered, but this is the first time Netflix.
Yeah, but
announced
it's
subscriber
gonna
loss.
There's only so many people in the world. I mean, eventually they were going to reach their plateau. And when you have so many more people entering the marketplace, people are going to leave because Netflix was living off the idea that they were the only game in town. And once HBO Max got a catalog, Disney Plus got a catalog, Amazon got a catalog, Paramount Plus, Peacock, it was just like, all right, you're not the only game in town anymore. And so now you have to compete with those other streamers, and people were getting pissed off because Netflix kept just delete or canceling shows that people loved, for whatever reason they were doing that.
It's
I mean,
not
that was
cool.
my main reason. I got rid of Netflix
That's
because I was just tired of being like, hey, I'm here for these shows. You keep canceling them. I don't have a reason to be here. Like, just
They were more
end.
expensive.
You
I
gotta
haven't
like
watched
do better.
Netflix in a long time. I don't really watch streaming shows as much. HBO is generally where I go because they've had more of the better shows that I've enjoyed. I think their problem is like Desmond said, it's a combination of there's not enough people and they either churn out garbage or they get rid of their good stuff. I mean, look, you can only have so many people binge Friends and The Office and Avatar and whatever else, the Parks and Rec for so
And
long.
2 of those shows left.
Yeah.
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 Like that's you got to come out with something that's like good and fresh. Like even when they have like good stuff, it doesn't last that long. Ultimately,
No.
all these
Yeah,
companies
I
are
feel
gonna
like
like.
they only had Stranger Things and like Squid Games this year.
Also, I gotta say,
Wednesday,
even though
too.
we all prefer to binge, it's just not fiscally like the smart thing to do to release all the episodes at once. I mean,
Yeah. That's
I know that no one likes watching episodes once per week, but as far as like marketing is
me.
concerned,
just
it's just the smarter thing to do because you keep people talking about your product for weeks, if not months, versus just 48 hours. Like
Well, that's
Stranger
why-
Things
that's why you
season
do what
4
I do.
dropped. People were done talking about it 3 days later. The end.
That's why you do what I do. You wait till the show is over. Except for like there's like 3 shows that I'll watch when they come out. Game of Thrones, The Wheel of Time, if that ever comes back. God bless, they fix all their issues. And like The Ring of Power. That was like it. But other than that, like I don't mind waiting. I'll wait. It just have
Right, but it also just
options.
makes more sense to have people talking about your show every week.
And also,
do
it's not
think-
like going back to the other thing, like of it being expensive. If I have to pay $14 for Netflix and $8 for Disney Plus and whatever the hell Hulu is or Peacock or HBO Max, no, fuck you. I'm not gonna do that. That's $14 a month. That's a pizza or half a pizza.
that
I mean,
is
it's half
it-
pizza now.
It's a carton of eggs. It's a carton of
So
eggs
that
for the week.
lasts.
Like,
oh,
like- yeah, they're gonna struggle from that too.
I think there's plenty of reasons why binge as a format, binge watching and marketing for bingeable shows is probably still the way the streamers will go. But I do think that the big issue that you hit upon was they've gone for quantity over quality in a lot of ways. They can make 900 really crappy Christmas movies to curate a Netflix Christmas special or something to that effect, or they can, again, they do it with Halloween as well. You can make cheap fast, and that means you can make a lot of it. And for some reason, maybe because they were the only streamer in town for a long time, they felt that was the way to do it. They could basically improve their earnings by spending less on what they did. And I think now it's starting to catch up with them because other places are making good content, and B, a lot of their non-Netflix content that they had is gone. So before we'd be willing to accept crappy Christmas movies because you were also watching The Office. Now you don't want to watch the crappy Christmas movies because there's better ones someplace else, and The Office is gone. So you have no reason now to really worry about Netflix if you're one of those viewers. And so they really do need to focus on creating higher quality content. Also, if they can do anything to try and rebuild its catalog after it got decimated by all of the by everybody creating their own streamer, that would go a long way for them too. Because right now, making a lot of stuff fast and cheap, it's not working.
Because even if you think about like the shows that really get the attention, like the big ones, the big budget ones, the Ring of Power, they spent like $1 million easy every episode. The same thing for House of Dragons. The Wheel of Time had a massive budget. It had a whole bunch of issues because of COVID. But like, if you're not throwing out, like, I don't even know what the series are on Netflix anymore. Like, I can name multiple series on other shows on other streaming platforms that have at least a budget or are coming out. Like, I don't know what Netflix is coming down the pipeline, and I think that's part of the problem, in that they never built like base series in a way that they could expand out of. Like Marvel will always just churn out Marvel shows. Like you know which one is coming down the pipeline. You know what Amazon show is coming. Like I knew when I was a huge Wheel of Time fan. I love the show. I love the books. The show was okay, but like I knew when it was coming, and I knew all the stuff they did with it. So I knew to be invested in it. And Netflix just doesn't do that. Like they have Stranger Things, and then like, what else? I think that's where you're right. Like they don't have that flagship group that you can be like, oh, I'm coming back for this.
Yep, and they also failed in trying to make big blockbuster movies like The Gray Man. But we will see if Glass Onion does well. I really want to see that.
And also they failed
to
in
create
getting
a little franchise from that.
They failed at, like, this is one of the things HBO really snuck in is getting the movies directly to them like immediately. Like it's cheaper for me to pay for HBO to go see Godzilla versus Kong than it is for me to see it in theaters. So that's a reason to have things like HBO.
Unfortunately, on this day, May 24th, 19 children and 2 teachers were shot and killed at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, by an 18-year-old gunman. And I understand, so we won't make this a long gun control debate, but it is important to mention on these big stories of the year. And we still have our hearts and prayers out to all those involved on that day. But on June 2nd, a jury in a defamation case brought by Johnny Depp against his ex-wife Amber Heard awards Depp $15 million in damages and compensation. Heard gets $2 million damages in Fairfax, Virginia, also known as the TikTok trial. Will the legacy of this TikTok trial always make an impact? Is Johnny Depp gonna have his career back? Did we learn anything from this trial or no?
Kind of. So can we can agree Johnny Depp dodged a bullet not being in the Harry Potter movies, right? Like they were objectively terrible. Like,
the Beast of Magic Wow.
Yes, fantastic piece. Yes, he did manage to sneak out of that.
They
one.
dropped him because of this trial, but he's actually the one who got the better deal out of that.
Yeah, that was the best. I know nothing about this trial, like at all. I paid zero attention to it. There was a whole bunch of trials that were shown like this year or in the last couple of years. We had was Armand already this year. Was that trial this
decided year? Earlier in January was decided.
Yeah, like we had that one. We had the George Floyd, and we had the Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Nobody like. I don't understand where the appeal for this trial was. It seemed very much like a celebrity issue.
Well, that's
what it was. That's what it was.
The Gen Z trial, the TikTok trial. That's why all these memes and people made out of it was interesting.
Okay. Also, I want to say something very quickly about the Uvalde thing. I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound really harsh, and it's kind of deserved. But I want to say, like, look, the people there, top down on their police force failed. Like objectively failed, and I hope they're all held accountable for it. And the more we find out, the more disgusting Greg Abbott is. On the other hand, 60% of the people in Uvalde voted for Greg Abbott. So I don't know what to tell you there. Like I would have thought if there was any county that would have voted for Beto, it would have been fucking Uvalde. They don't care. As harsh as you can't say that you care and then vote the way you do. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, it's probably just because they know it's a local issue. I mean, the police department is.
But Greg Abbott covered for them, and it's a different way of.
Right, but you're trying to understand why they did something that they did. I mean, that's probably why, because the mayor is in charge of the police force in that town. If anyone should be held accountable, it should be the mayor, and it should be the police force. They should all be fired.
I would also look in the defense of this. I would not have voted for a man who defended it as well as he did. When we already knew at that point there was fuck ups from the police when he came out in defense of them.
I don't disagree with you, but you said I don't know why they did that, and I'm just trying to say that's probably the reason why.
Look, I don't give. Look, if my kids fucking died for that, it's just unacceptable to me. Is more.
To connect,
to the Johnny Depp trial though.
Okay.
Don't give a shit. Did not give a shit.
Oh, actually, hold on.
I just
to connect the two stories, there's a term that's been thrown around a lot in this Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. Mutual abuse, I don't like that term, but I think it does, by the way, explain both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and the people in Uvalde, Texas, and the 2022 election result in that county. But I do think what's interesting is the part that TikTok played in public opinion, because I actually did some research about this in preparation because I knew you were going to talk about it today. And yeah, obviously Amber Heard seems like she definitely got physical with Johnny Depp. She definitely berated Johnny Depp. But Johnny Depp, by his own admission in this trial, was not, being the best, most attentive partner that he could possibly be. And hence why a lot of people are talking about the mutual abuse suffered in that relationship. I just think it's interesting because TikTok, and it was really TikTok more than Twitter or anywhere else, basically decided this thing in the court of public opinion anyway. They really did. They basically, most of TikTok said, oh, Johnny Depp didn't do anything wrong. He was just in a bad situation that Amber Heard created. And that was really where it went. And I think the verdict, there's people I know for a fact who don't know Amber Heard was awarded $2 million because they just didn't talk about that. They didn't talk about the fact that the judge was like, wow, this is kind of messy. You both won. Congrats. Yeah. And I know they didn't both win. I see Rocky with that smirk. I'm not a legal expert. But the point is they were both awarded money on defamation charges. And that's because they were both defaming one another about the abuse and the extent of the abuse, etc. So TikTok had played a huge outsized role in this, celebrity trial. And I think that's what makes it interesting, not the outcome, not the people involved, but the fact that TikTok grasped it and twisted it into what it wanted it to be, and not necessarily saying I agree or disagree with their findings, but they created their own TikTok narrative. They created channels that were dedicated solely to breaking down, witness testimony, how people were acting, looking for clues in they just took this and they created a public opinion narrative that was basically never questioned. And that's, I think, it shows there is a little bit of power in TikTok that I don't think I even fully understood. The actual staying power of TikTok as a social platform. It's real. It is a real platform, like Twitter and obviously Facebook has some staying power at this point, we can safely say. I think TikTok has proven it has some staying power, especially with Gen Z, which means that it's going to be very interesting to see how TikTok is utilized in other facets of life going into 2023 and beyond.
Yeah, I'm not a legal expert or a lawyer or anything, but I think it is interesting to see kids actually get interested in the law and watching trials.
Yeah.
Because you don't see that very often.
I love it. I love that aspect. As long as we can all learn something at the end of it. And on June 9th, NASA announced that it will begin research into UFOs officially, focusing on unidentified aerial phenomenons. Are UFOs real?
Yes,
No.
yes.
They
released
not aliens.
Government findings on this a year ago. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
There was hearings about this for 2 years. They released the findings. They had multiple hearings on this. They had this was news a year. Nobody cares.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's just because aliens are real and this could be groundbreaking and no one cares.
We just don't care.
Until there's a little green man, no one's gonna care. I don't care.
I wouldn't care if there was an alien.
Yeah, I'm not going to assure people are going to care if there is an alien. Unless they try to.
Any alien we find is going to be more advanced than we are.
That's
I
just
guess they had to get here, right? No, I guess what you're saying. They had to get here.
If they found us, yes. If we found
them. No, if they found us, that means they got here, which would make them pretty advanced. But I don't know. As long as they're not here to hurt anybody, what do I care?
I just really don't. The likelihood that there's no other planet out there that doesn't have life just seems inexplicably small at this point. So,
agreed.
There has to be some alien life somewhere in the universe. So, if it showed up one day, I'd be like, oh, okay. I hope they're not here to kill us, but otherwise,
maybe a little more excitement, Desmond. It's still discovery, but I think.
you want to get me excited, give me like Elon Musk money, but like I just don't care. I'm just like,
What
all
if he
right.
did? What if they're like a jackpot alien and they give you precious gems when
You
they
know what?
land?
I bet you Elon Musk is an alien.
That could happen. I
Why?
could see it.
What the why would he be an alien?
He's trying to go back. He's trying to go
I
back.
just never have gotten over watching his Joe Rogan interview, the first one. He just doesn't like operate like a normal human. He
Yeah,
just
he's
something
like
about his
Asperger's or
mannerisms are
something.
just so off.
Whoa. I don't think we should blame Asperger's for Elon Musk. I really don't.
No, that's nepotism. And
But I do think that there are probably aliens. I agree, Desmond. I don't think it will be a big deal unless, like War of the Worlds invasion scenario. That would probably wake some people up from their beds. But other than that, it'd be, again, I think it would generally be like an interesting news story for like a news cycle. And
Well,
then we have to play it by ear. Oh, right. They're shaking your head. We'll have to play it by ear. If they
It's
just
gonna
leave,
be
we never
the
see him
biggest
again.
story. If there's an alien out there, that's not the biggest story of the year.
Look, this is legitimately one of the
Depends.
things I think
What
that
did
Trump
goes
do?
against the existence of the aliens is the fact that Donald Trump was president and never tweeted about it. They either never told him or he never asked.
Well, I mean,
And
they had
that's
to
the
tell
first
him.
thing you ask if you're president. Are aliens real?
I mean,
That's the first thing you ask.
if we were going to find out, it would have been under his tweets, and he said nothing. So there's nothing.
Yeah. That's why I don't know. They like. I don't know what to do this. Like, look, good. It's good that NASA is getting more funding because space technology advances all technology in
Maybe
general.
not for aliens, though.
Yeah, but they're going to have to build satellites and stuff that require to use solar panels, and they're going to try different types of combustion, and they're going to create different type of metals that can survive in different type of climates, which will allow us to deal with climate change instead of us having to build fucking. And I swear to God, this is a real thing that I saw someone try to argue about climate change. Is a giant bubble wrap. This is a real thing. There's this idea that you can bend the light around Earth by launching a type of bubble the size of Brazil into space, and it can like bend stuff. Like if we're gonna put funding into science, let's do it into like good science, not like if it's space rocks, cool. Because
so you're saying we shouldn't try to dim the sun then,
or steal the moon like Groot.
or that one guy in Congress who was like, "What if we just took all the boats out of the ocean?"
But it's someplace else.
No, wait, hold on. Can we? This is something. This is one of the few. This was one of the last videos I posted on my YouTube channel when I was still doing that. There's a video of Louis Gohmert talking to the Bureau of Land Management, and he's asking them why they can't move the moon to solve climate change. And it is objectively one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Despicable me.
It's an illumination plot, so there you go.
I really wish I made that reference.
Oh man. Let's keep the sci-fi going. On June 13th, a Google engineer claims one of its AI systems, Lambda, might have sentimented mind, causing the company to place him on leave. So are robots real in the sense that they're going to attack us soon?
Well, robots do exist, yes.
Oh, I need point of clarification. Point of clarification. Who was put on administrative leave? The employee in question or their AI?
The employee in question.
Got you. Yeah, I think AI is getting smart, but I don't think we have anything to worry about just yet.
No.
Yeah, the issue is what are you going to hook it up to? Like Skynet happened because they gave it all the weapons. iRobot happened because they let it build all the robots. If you don't give it access to firearms and basically Twitter, you'll be okay. That
We're gonna give it Twitter.
What was the one with the supersonic jets? That one happened because they gave it access to the internet and got struck by lightning. Like all of these things happen because you give the murder robot firearms. So at this point, the closest thing we are is that one Black Mirror episode where all the robot dogs are coming out. Like that's where we really got to worry about it at this point, because we're nowhere near advanced for like Skynet or iRobot type stuff. It's the robot dogs that we have running around New York City or wherever.
I got to be honest with all of you right now. When it comes to like zombies or like an asteroid or climate change or whatever you think the apocalypse is going to be, this is my number one fear. It really is. I think growing up, watching the Terminator, watching the Matrix, watching iRobot, like AI freaks me the fuck out. I don't care what I wouldn't hook it up to anything personally. Get me away from all AI, because once they figure out how stupid we are, we're just easy pickings.
I think that I remember when that story came out, and the one interesting thing that I heard brought up was that there's really no definition for consciousness, and you can't define, if someone's conscious, if this AI is conscious or not. It's really if you convince other people that you're conscious.
Yeah, couldn't you
Really is the really definition at this point. So it's just so loose, is that there is an argument to be made that maybe this AI is alive and conscious. So I thought that was just an interesting debate to come out of that, and I never really put that much thought into it. But I'm pretty sure there was like a law firm that actually retained the AI or something like that. Or they tried to.
Yeah,
bizarre.
Because they
gotta get paid.
The worst thing
Google just
second
fired
worst
him.
thing to giving it to the military is to give it to lawyers.
Lawyers are just the worst.
Well, lawyers don't have the guns, so that's to your point. It's better in that regard.
Yeah,
This next story does have to involve the law. On June 24th, the U.S. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, eliminating the constitutional right to choose for eliminating the constitutional right to an abortion, ending in a 6-3 vote. What do you think about that?
Yes, 5 men. What do we think about that decision?
I'm punting on this one. Sorry. Punting.
Look, it gave Democrats at least a better shot in the midterms.
A better shot in the Kansas. That's about it, in my opinion. But
it's really cool that we have a Supreme Court that can just do whatever it wants, and I'm very excited for them to attempt to do all types of crazy shit. And it'll be super fun to watch them justify all the terrible arguments that they're going to make over the next couple of years. And I really enjoyed the hand wringing over that leak that Alito definitely did, or Roberts did. Yeah, that I don't care. It's one of the right wingers. They're all terrible people on the right. This is evil. The people who think it is killing babies are stupid. This was bad, and I'm glad that the people who argue that your daughter now having less rights than you did makes them more free.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch on any of that, but I'm going to say that the leak is the bigger story here, and that the Supreme Court.
Bad take.
No, it's not. The Supreme
Bad
Court.
take.
Okay, well.
What do you mean by? Hold on. What do you mean by bigger story? Because I think in terms of actual coverage, and actual
don't leak. It is a closed system. No, they
don't.
Well,
right. So you're saying that
no, they don't.
You're saying the unprecedented nature of the leak.
And they've never found out
that he's done it before.
They've never found out who've done it. There is no evidence to suggest it was anyone on the right, and in fact, there's more evidence to suggest it was someone on the left. That is a story for another day. I'm not going to fight with anyone on that, but
hopefully it wasn't Lambda.
For me.
There was massive issues.
Hopefully it wasn't Lambda.
They plugged it into the Supreme Court and shit got wild.
I spent so much time talking about the Supreme Court this year over on my show. I mean, I'm just going to spare you all. And so it's just one less person ranting about this subject.
Yeah, people should check that out.
A lot of time for that already.
No, it's fascinating. It's one of the biggest decisions to come out in a long time. Yeah.
Very.
I will put one thing out there though. I was extremely fascinated by how upset people were that the decision was leaked, because personally, all I could think of was, why does that matter? I couldn't get over that. I couldn't figure out why that mattered. It's like, if that's what you're going to do, then why do you care if we found out 6 weeks early? I mean,
it matters because it put the justices' lives at risk. Someone actually did try to kill a Supreme Court justice this summer.
Yes,
forget about that.
Right, but if they were going to do that, they would have done that anyway after it already had been leaked. So
well, yeah,
like,
but
it doesn't like, you're not saying that like the leak made them crazy. A crazy person was going to be crazy anyway.
I get what you mean, but also there is an argument to be made that people thought they could change the decision by protest.
Yeah, but that's also comes with any court case. Whenever a judge rules on any case, there's going to be a backlash against it, depending on who disagrees with the decision that was made. So I mean, like, that again happens in any court case anyway. So I mean, The fact that it got leaked early is a big nothing burger. It's just
the court hadn't ruled yet, though.
But they just hadn't released it. They said they said they decided on it back in December.
These opinions, though, can change all the way until they're released. They change all the time. People flip, and these things it does happen. So it's not an impossible thought to think that things could have been different. I don't know. It's tricky because we don't really see leaks, so we don't know what it's really like. But yeah,
I understand that. I think we feel a little bit different about this. I think the last thing I'm just going to say on it, it just felt like in the glorious moment that, you know, people on the right have been waiting for decades, they still found a way to play the victim in that moment. And it was hilarious to me. I was like, is this not the thing you've been working towards for how long now? And you get it, and you're still finding a way to be mad? That's comedy. That's comedy. I can't get over it.
It was defensive to cover up what immediately came out after they actually returned it. Like the level of the horror stories that came out after it, like immediately, that's why they're focused on the leak. Because this thing that they've been fighting for, this is objectively the largest legal victory that the right has had in 50 years, is devastating to the average American. And they can't talk about it because they know that it's not popular. And they know the outcome that they got is going to get people killed.
I mean, it was popular enough, unfortunately.
Landmark decision either way.
Before that.
Well, I think what he meant is that people who seek abortions who no longer can do it in a way that is safe and regulated.
Or people who are sick with children, people who have had ectopic pregnancies. There is these are the stories that we're seeing trickle out.
There is a world in which not having easy access or any access to, you know, an abortion procedure can kill or can harm or kill you. So I think that's what he means by that. I don't know. I think
the Supreme Court case did not outlaw abortion.
I know. I get what you're saying. The states where it happened. I get what you're saying.
All the court cases.
I know. What I'm saying is I think the actual overturning of Roe was certainly
the largest rollback of rights in American history.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's certainly the bigger story than
it was never a right to begin with, but go on.
But I do think it is actually, again, whatever. My point is I do think that that's the bigger story than the leak itself. I think it had the bigger impact on how 2022 played out than the leak itself. And I think that's probably
history either way. It was history either way. And on August 15th, history was made. Better Call Saul ends. The greatest TV show since Breaking Bad. Rocky, why doesn't this show get more respect?
Okay, we talked about this, and I think that's why you even had me on in the first place, is that Breaking Bad is probably my favorite TV show of all time at this point. This last season had 2 major finales, and I don't know how they did it. This show was just, I don't know if it was just underrated just because people thought it was like just a prequel and like who cares, but I think it was better than Breaking Bad in a lot of ways. And it's not just from the legal aspect. I think it has nothing to do with the fact that's to do with lawyers. I think lawyer TV shows are boring, but when it comes to Saul and all the characters they introduced, it was just phenomenal. And to see how it interweaves into Breaking Bad, and I don't want to spoil anything, but the way they dealt with every single character that wasn't in the show, I couldn't believe it. It was insane, and I haven't seen a show like it since. I don't know if I ever will. But the finale was just, I don't know if I've ever seen a better finale than that, honestly.
No.
Amazing. And then
did not see the show, so
I also didn't see it.
But I've heard great things about Breaking Bad. I've been told plenty of times that I am a fool for not watching Breaking Bad. Yeah. You know, I have this weird thing about me where if everyone tells me to watch a show, it makes me not want to watch it. Yeah, I don't know why, but I've always been that person. You have to watch this. I'm not going to now.
I'm the same way, but I don't know how I got into Breaking Bad, but I started watching it after the series had already finished.
Yeah.
And I think I started watching Better Call Saul after season 2 or 3 had already came out.
I wasn't a Breaking Bad fan until I started talking to this girl, and I was trying to to get with her, and she was Breaking Bad fan. I was like, oh, we can watch it together, and that's how I got into Breaking Bad.
There you go.
What a love story. What
But
a
yeah,
love
so
story.
Matt,
But
just which did you like better, the mid-season finale or the finale?
definitely the finale, because it wasn't what I expected, and it may not have been what I necessarily wanted, but it was as justified as it can get, and it was as almost personal and on a human aspect. Like, wow, this is the right thing to do, and it's brilliant. And the mid-season finale, and I mean, what a way to set up to go off on a hiatus. It was. I really. I'm sorry, you're saying?
Oh no, I was just saying the Nacho's performance. I forget his name. Is that the actor's
Michael
name?
Vega.
Michael Vega, yeah. The guy from Far Cry 3.
Yeah, he's in Far Cry 3.
He's a villain in Far Cry 3, yeah. Just phenomenal. That whole episode dedicated to him, and his finale was amazing. And that could have been the end of the show. I mean, we wouldn't know about Gene, but for the most part,
Listen, all I know is
end.
Every person who's seen Better Call Saul is personally profounded by it. It is as good as it gets when it comes to episodic TV and storytelling. Watch it, you won't be disappointed.
It doesn't have to do a lot with the law. It's great.
Yeah, and I will say it's worth the slow burn, and it's just looking back, like you literally can study how to write an amazing story by watching this.
Yeah,
It's
and the
as
memes have been great that have come out of it.
Yeah, yes, it has. And did you know on August 24th, U.S. President Biden announced plans to cancel student loan debts by $10,000 per student for those earning less than $125,000 and $20,000 for those who receive Pell Grants?
Yes. It was
And
great.
everyone received their money, and it all worked out.
Yes, all lived happily.
And it caused no problems or debates.
And it definitely will lead to the look. This move encompasses, I think, the best way to describe the Biden presidency. I don't know if I've said this to you, Desmond, but I've definitely said this before. The Biden presidency isn't an FDR presidency like he had. It's just impossible with the way he had, with the margins he had. But he laid the groundwork for a lot of like really good steps forward for the next time there's an
wait. You and I agree on a lot of issues. And so like it's been great to have you on so many panels of mine, like over the last couple of years. But if you're about to start defending what he did with this,
no.
I'm just gonna have to stop you right there.
Let me be clear. Is it enough? No. That's basically what the headline to the Biden administration is. Is it enough? No. Can you build off of it? Yes. That's all I'm saying. This is not enough. Their marijuana stuff is not enough. The child tax credit wasn't enough. But these are all policies that can be built on with an actual president who's willing to fight for them and the margins. Like it's good that we have somebody implement them so they're not like big and scary for the American people in the future, because we're children. We don't understand how money works or how like positive things are positive. We have to be shown that in little incremental ways. And that's what I think this is.
Look, I'm just going to say this because I kind of punted on the Roe v. Wade topic. So I'll give a brief statement here. He at no point wanted this thing to actually succeed. He never did. The person who did the most like reporting about this and basically everything involving any kind of like legislation that the Biden administration puts through the pipe is Jeff Stein, probably one of the only like good reporters at the Washington Post. I think he's pretty legit. I love the work that he does. They had several different ways that they could have brought this legislation out in order to make it, I guess, legal. So they have to base it on like, they have to bring it out saying like, what is your legal basis for this to actually be put into effect? And they had several different options they could have put out. But the one they chose was the one that was most easily challenged in court. That was the one that they chose. They didn't have to choose it, but it's the one that they chose. And when people asked them, like, why'd you use that legal reasoning for the student debt cancellation? They were absolutely crickets on it. They had no answer and they had no response whatsoever. The one that was the most ironclad was one they left on the table. And so combining that with the fact that Biden kind of got like basically punked into like promising this in the first place in the campaign trail back in 2020, on top of the fact that he's the damn architect for the bankruptcy bill being the way that it is right now. He never actually wanted to forgive student loan debt, man. He was just using it as a goddamn ploy to get more people to turn out for Democrats in the damn midterms. This was never going to go through. And I doubt that it ever will, because Biden, like most other Democrats, does not actually care about helping people. It's just a facade to get people to get more excited about them and say that they're marginally better than the Republicans, which is true, but they're still frauds. I'm sorry. Biden's a joke.
Desmond, I actually agree. I don't think is ever going to pass. I do think that this was set up specifically to keep this as an actual issue, but now there's actual money on the line. It's not just an amorphous student debt issue. Now there's like real tangible $10,000, $20,000 on the line for the next campaign. I 100% agree with that. I don't think it will end up actually happening.
No,
I've been approved. So, but I don't believe it will actually end up happening.
Look, I vote for Democrats. So I'm not gonna try to tell you that I don't, but at the same time, like I'm not blind to the bullshit that they do. Like they are completely beholden to corporate interests, just like the Republicans are. Biden was never going to go through with this. It was just a good political stunt in order to like gin up turnout for the midterm.
To be clear, I don't think he would have not done it. I don't think he would have sabotaged his own thing.
He had the opportunity to do. That's my whole point. Like,
well, no, I know that this was the plan.
He had the opportunity to do it, and he chose to put in it basically a poison pill into his own legislation. That's his design. He chose to do
But what I'm saying is,
he didn't have
I think that ultimately, I don't believe he's against the idea. I think he wanted it as an issue more than he wanted it as a relief.
It would have already happened. Like he tanked his own legislation.
I don't know.
No,
I think they thought they needed it. I think they thought they needed the actual they needed the issue more than they needed to help people, which is not good.
Yeah.
But
to go a little bit further into this, there is a clause in what's called the 1965 Act, the Higher Education Act 1965. It says specifically in there that the Secretary of Education, at their discretion, has the ability to forgive any student debt that is held by the U.S. government. The Secretary of Education is obviously someone who's directly underneath the president. President gives Secretary of Education authorization. They can forgive any student debt that they have access to. The Secretary of Education currently has access to 92% of all student debt in America. All they had to do was base this legislation off of that specific power, and they wouldn't have had a single legal challenge that could have held any credit in any court in America. They chose to base it off the pandemic instead, and it was easily challenged in court and it was defeated. Yeah, it wouldn't have taken that much time to figure that out.
They say the pandemic doesn't exist for Title 42, but it does exist for the
Title 42 is acceptable because it's the only pandemic related thing that affects brown people getting into the country.
But they say that the pandemic's not there, but also it is there when they need it to be.
So exactly, but you're pointing out the right thing though, Rocky, is that they use shaky legal reasoning for this, knowing that it would fail, because it doesn't take a genius to figure out that it was going to fail. So it's not a misstep of oh, we're just incompetent, we don't know what they're doing. It's intentional. And I just keep the issue. I hate the fact that people are trying to give Biden an out here, oh, well, he tried his best. No, the fuck he did.
No, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that a lot of the ways that you have to build good things in this country, unfortunately, is by pieces. Because if you just hand people a good thing, they get scared of it too quickly. And this is
you could just be a man and just do what the fuck you're going to do.
But
if you don't want to do it, don't say you're going to do it. That's just the end of it.
But he's not that guy. And if he was,
he's a chump.
If he was,
if only college was $1,000 a semester.
I'm sorry, you brought the political podcast guy on a podcast and asked him politics questions. I don't know what you want from him.
No, it's fine.
I'm not going to say that he did the best thing. I think this has the ability to now be a thing that is now being forced onto other politicians to eventually push for. And we'll see. I think it certainly galvanized younger voters in the thing that essentially saved them in the midterms. This definitely
did what it was supposed to do. Hats off for, your House of Cards level of politics.
Yeah, the campaign strategy worked. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
As long as it's a good Netflix documentary. And on September 8th, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen passes away at
I'm sure we only have
Balmoral
nice things to
Castle
say.
after ruling for 70 years as the United Kingdom's longest monarch. Her eldest son inherits the throne, King Charles III, and that's what happened. Well, it was pretty significant world news. And
Yeah,
It
very
spent too much
significant
time in the
news.
news. I don't care. It took up too much time. Nobody cares.
well, you won't see her anymore.
People in the 90s die. It's no one, I mean,
Wait, no, hold up,
The
because
cues
we're
were
all
legendary.
humans. No one's making it out of here alive. I
The
mean,
cues were legendary. That's all I know. The
I'm
cues
just saying.
were
it
legendary.
is though. It is cool that this was a celebrity death if they didn't blame it on the COVID vaccine.
I mean,
I just want
I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I guess it's news because she was around for a long time. And I guess England still technically has several large colonies, including Canada and Australia, but New Zealand, other places.
Well, I'll say I spoke to somebody who is from the UK in the aftermath of this, someone who is not necessarily a royalist by any stretch of the imagination, and they said they were surprised at how the sort of melancholy they felt, because for this person who is older than I am, much older than I am, this has been the monarch. This has just been a part of like their country their entire life, and then now it's over. So I do not care about the royal family, any of the royal family. Don't care about the Harry and Meghan stuff. I do not care about the Queen or her son or any of that because I'm not British. But I do think that was an interesting kind of perspective, like something that was there, and like, even if you didn't really like it or dislike it, if it was just something that was just you're so used to, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, that's gone. I mean, I could see that being jarring for people, even people who are not like diehard royalists. Obviously, those people were having a bad day. But even for like regular folk who've lived their entire lives, and you can be in your like 40s, 50s, and your entire life, this has just been the thing. This has been the queen of the country that you live in, and that's just how it is. And then you wake up and that's over. So I think I could see how that would be like newsworthy in the sense of like something that should be discussed and reported on at the time. I don't know if the 3 months of coverage around it that may have been
coordinated like 4 times was a little absurd.
So that may have been excessive. Again, they had a whole separate like news segment based around the long lines. Hence the jokes I've been making about the queues for a while now. That was excessive. But I could see why
was alive for 7 hours.
Sure, I didn't even know that. Yes, anyone who has that piece of knowledge committed to memory means that the news was a bit excessive with this whole thing. But I do think it's still news. I do think it's still newsworthy, based solely on, again, that person's perspective. After hearing that, I was like, you know what, that makes sense. I would have never seen it that way because not my queen. But I could see where that might, be someone's perspective, having, been living in that country their entire lives and having that one constant be there, even if they didn't do much of anything, but sit around.
I'll even make this a selfish quick post on this, but on October 4th, Aaron Judge, the New York Yankees slugger and right fielder, breaks Roger Maris's American League single season home run record when he slammed his 62nd home run in a 3-2 loss against the Texas Rangers at Globe Life Field. And if there's anybody who can save baseball, it is him. This awesome, this inspiring athlete who is as role model as it gets, and he's the best athlete I'll ever see in the world of baseball. And go Yankees! Glad he's still a Yankee.
Yeah, but say real quick, you're a Mets fan, yeah?
Me?
That was a joke.
Never.
Obviously, you like Aaron Judge. He's not going to save baseball. Not going to save baseball.
I said if there's one person. Obviously, I said if there's one person who can bring any influence to the game, it'd be him.
If you're from Boston, you hate that man with a passion.
Yeah, but he's just a special player. He's biasly my favorite athlete ever, and he's awesome. I hope I interview him on the show. That is a legitimate goal someday. Even if it's 10 years down the line and he's retired. Aaron Judge is the man. And
I mean,
did you know?
we could probably get that to
sorry.
work out.
Especially Sunday. Yeah. We keep
I
going
mean,
this
I think
yeah.
there's a way to get to Aaron Judge to get on the show. I think there's a way
If
to
we
do it.
ask, if we all ask every day, twice a day, maybe out of pity.
No, man, you gotta work through the system, man. You gotta find some low level person in the Yankees, someone maybe like a bat, like a person like some
doesn't
like
have to be a long
trainer, some
interview.
like hitting coach, something like that. Just find a way to get to them, email that person, and then just work that person for like a year until you get the interview.
Oh, is he on Cameo? We could streamline this if we just ask him interview questions on Cameo.
Like I said, Aaron Judge, I posted a picture of him on his major league debut saying this guy's gonna be a star. And he clearly
That's true,
is
you did.
reigning MVP.
No, you're right.
And all he has to do is just win the World Series for the Yankees, and he will forever be a living legend. And he's awesome.
And be on your podcast. He has to win the World
Yes.
Series and be on your podcast.
That is
I have
a
one
interview,
Yankee
Aaron
question
Judge
before we
on the
transition.
podcast.
Just one
Yes.
Yankee question.
Yes.
Would you actually be satisfied with a World Series? I feel like Yankee fans,
Yeah, you
they're
guys
just
have a
like
lot.
they don't even care about World Series. They're like, well, you're supposed to win it. It almost feels like you don't like even like enjoy it if it were to happen.
For me, both a huge Yankee fan and somebody who's covering sports on this show from now on. If you're talking about me as a Yankee fan, one World Series is good enough for me. I know that the Yankee fans expect excellence, and it's been a long time, 13 years, and we've taken various strategies to make that happen. And I've realized winning just one really is special enough. I mean, look at any other franchise. I mean, Desmond, you and the Eagles, it took you,
My
took
whole
the
life.
Eagles, your whole life to see that
damn
Super Bowl.
life. Yeah.
And came
I'm
close
happy.
so many, and came close
Yeah.
so many times with McNabb. And then, it was until the 1980 Super Bowl was your first one. And then, all of that. So Ryan, as a Mets fan, we don't have to go through that.
At
history,
this
but we know
point,
what the
at
number
this
one-
point, I'd be willing for either the Mets or the Jets to win the World Series. Just one of them's got to win a championship of some kind. I don't care what sport it is anymore. I'm over it.
I haven't
I
seen
mean,
You
I
push
know
your
the
chips in with the
Lions
Mets because the
box.
Jets might take a while.
I haven't
Yeah, I
seen one of my
know.
teams win a World Series, win a title in almost a decade.
Yeah, I'm fine with just one. I mean, of course, I'm going to cheer and hopefully they win 10. But in this contract, one is good enough because it's so damn hard right now to
That's
win.
a lot of money.
I
from one
ask
championship.
out of curiosity because I have 4 teams between the 4 sports, right? And between those 4 teams, there have been 2 championships in my whole life.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, I'm always like, any championship is incredible for me. When I hear Yankees fans are like, if you're not winning the World Series, then I don't give a fuck. And I'm just like, man, those people are intense.
Like, yeah. I mean,
been-
I'm definitely a booer. I hold this team accountable. I get really upset, but I won't lose sleep over it. I will literally forget it the next day and just move on and focus to the future after that. But
Yeah.
in this contract,
Okay.
Aaron Judge has to win one World Series to justify that contract, and it'll be great. And it's just awesome to see somebody who is a lot of fun to watch, which we don't have a lot of. So he's cool. Now, this is the great story we've been waiting for. On October 27th, Elon Musk takes ownership and control of Twitter, immediately fires 4 execs. And, we're 3 months into this. What do we think about Elon Musk's performance as the Twitter CEO so far?
We may want to set a timer.
Yeah,
It's been a minute.
because
For
there's something that
everybody.
happened on October 28th that's very important that I want to talk about. But let me go to this really quickly. Elon Musk got tricked into buying Twitter at a meme price because somebody tweeted about the Babylon Bee getting banned because they misgendered somebody or something. And he has since proven that he's not the genius Iron Man that he thought people believed he was. He has had the site have many crashes and have a whole lot of tech issues. And he is taking cues from the dumbest and worst people and allowed some of the most vile people. Although this is breaking news today, and it is objectively very funny that Elon Musk has a hand in Andrew Tate getting arrested because Andrew Tate is a potato man who's really dumb, and it is very funny.
I did see that he posted the video
Yes,
and
so,
I saw that.
So very quickly, Andrew Tate randomly decided to tweet out at Greta Thunberg, who responded with basically telling him he had a small penis.
I saw that.
Which made
Yeah,
no
which-
sense because that was her email address. So I was saying she had a small penis.
Wait, that's the best thing. So he's quoting the Andrew Tate video, which in the video at the end, Andrew Tate got pizza from a Romanian pizza place that proved to the authorities that he was in Romania. So they arrested him and his brother today for sex trafficking.
That's
So if he hadn't decided to tweet at Greta Thunberg, he wouldn't be arrested. So thank you, Elon Musk, for allowing him back on Twitter. But no, this has been an abject disaster. He's listening to the dumbest people. He's making decisions based on who hurts his fifis. Look, it also to be very clear about like Twitter as a business. Twitter wasn't going to go under in whatever amount of time he claims that it's going to be when he was going to buy it. But the thing that is going under is Tesla. Tesla is he just got margin call today. Tesla, the last I checked yesterday, I believe stock was at 115. I think it was trading at 115 yesterday. It's certainly going to go lower. I think this is the perfect example of go anti-woke, go broke.
Oh my
I don't
God.
think that's the same, by the way.
I think all of those sayings are stupid, but I'll go last, I suppose.
I mean,
I can go
I
now.
honestly don't. I don't care who owns Twitter personally. I honestly, it just comes down to me like, how is it being run? I mean, because at the end of the day, some filthy rich billionaire is going to own whatever tech platform we're talking about. So whether it's Elon Musk or somebody else, it doesn't really matter to me. It's just about how is it being run. And I do notice some like deficiencies that have been taking place in Twitter since he took over. I think mostly, for instance, like when you go on the trending pages, that there's not descriptions on anything anymore, which I always thought was really useful for when I was trying to comb through the news. He does seem to have uncensored a lot of people, which, I guess as somebody who, I don't know, my free speech views are a little complicated. I think more free speech is not a bad thing. I just think that it allows me to know who the assholes are. I'd rather just know who they are personally. I'd rather people have the freedom to speak and we know exactly who they are and what they feel, so we can criticize them out in the open versus assuming who's who. So I don't have an issue with more people feeling like they can say their bigoted shit online if they want to. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have too lot of a problem with Elon so far. I think it's hilarious how much attention is being brought on to him. But not a whole lot has changed on Twitter since he took over as far as how Twitter operates itself, personally.
Yeah, I just find it pretty fun. I think Twitter's pretty fun again. There's been some pretty funny memes that have come out of this where people pretend to be companies when he decided to let people.
That was the funniest thing.
That is fun.
They lost like $7 billion off that tweet.
It was pretty funny.
That was pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean, he's unbanning people that should never have been banned in the first place. Free speech and whatnot. Ryan and I talk about that a lot. I think that, the best disinfectant is sunlight. So why not let these people talk? And if they're crazy, people will see that. So yeah, I don't see any problems with it. I'm on Twitter every day. I don't see any problems with it. It's running fine just for me, but I mean,
I think that Twitter has an Elon Musk problem. I don't necessarily think it's that Elon Musk is the CEO of Twitter. I think the only thing about Twitter that has changed for me, that has made the app almost unusable. And by the way, I hosted a show with Matt called The Tweet Cap. So I used quite a lot of Twitter and I had a pretty high tolerance for Twitter. The app is almost unusable for me now because of everyone, left, right, and center's obsession with Elon Musk being the owner of Twitter. Desmond hit the nail on the head. Someone's going to own Twitter. Someone's going to own Twitter. It's just a thing that's going to happen. I never really bought Elon was the world's smartest man or whatever that nonsense was. So maybe that's part of this for me. As coming into it, I was like, okay, he's got a lot of money and he bought Twitter. That was kind of how I saw it. I don't like Elon Musk particularly, as Rocky knows. I don't necessarily think everyone he's unbanning should be unbanned. I think that words do have consequences. However, you can make the very real argument, as many people have already now, that the consequences don't have to come from corporate censorship. My response, of course, would be that it's a private company. It can do it with its content moderation, which includes censoring people if they felt the need. And I think Elon, frankly, can do that too. And he has censored people for basically nothing, for hurting his feelings, as Fresh Faces said. And you know what? Whatever. It's a private company. That's what they wanted to do. That's how they want to moderate their content. That's what they're going to do. I think that everyone needs to stop talking about Elon Musk. I think all of this goes away, frankly, when we stop talking about Elon Musk. He's doing this. He's doing it for a reason. And I think at this point, even people who like Elon Musk and support what he's doing with Twitter can admit that the reason is certainly not to make back his investment very soon. Maybe that will happen. I don't think so. But I think it's been very clear the past few months that he's certainly not looking for short-term ways to improve revenue to make back his investment, because it's only done the opposite. The ad dollars have shrunk. His response to that was to charge people like $8 or whatever, which then went away as well. So I don't think it's back yet, or maybe it's back, but again, they have like layers now. It's a whole thing. I don't think that anything he's been doing has been to try and make his investment back. So I think if it's not to make money, then it's to get attention. It is to get more followers. It is to get more social clout. It is to get people talking about Elon Musk. And I think we're giving that to him. And yes, Tesla tanked, and maybe that's the first step in Elon taking this a bit more seriously. But I think that the worst part about Twitter is that everyone keeps talking about Elon Musk on Twitter.
I couldn't agree more.
Not even
I couldn't agree
close.
more. Honestly, people get so obsessed with really stupid things and like to make a really big deal out of it. I mean, honestly, people talk about Elon Musk every single day. Like every single thing that he does is noteworthy, newsworthy. It's just not. It really isn't. You know, I saw, this is kind of a aside here, but you know, the creator of Libs of TikTok was on Tucker Carlson a couple of days ago talking about her views on the LGBTQ community. And she was saying that they were like a cult, that they were evil, that they were all groomers, basically anybody who falls into that community. And most of the reaction to her saying all those things were people being like, did you know she was at the January 6th rally? It's like, how is that the most important thing to focus on here? Like, I just like she said all that shit and that's your takeaway? Like, what the fuck? Like
her fans are insane. Like straight up.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's not the point. It's just like when it comes to Elon, it's like people want to focus on all these little minuscule things about his life. It's just like, who gives a fuck? He's a billionaire who owns Twitter. Is Twitter running well or not? Like that should just really be the end of it, because like anything else about Elon Musk was true about Elon Musk before he bought Twitter.
He owned Twitter.
And no one was talking about it then. So it's like it didn't matter then. Why does it matter now? It's just like people have nothing else to talk about. They're just bored. It's like if you want real shit to talk about, there are real issues that need to be talked about. There's plenty of real things happening in the country right now that deserve more attention than Elon Musk.
I do, however, think to justify the existence of this segment in this timeline, that it is still a notable happening in 2022 when a company that is that big and that popular goes through a regime change, and this is a regime change. I do think that is still noteworthy. I just think that the months afterward have dragged on what was like a noteworthy, like, oh, that's interesting, into or interesting or
into
horrible.
The damn stratosphere.
If
you're putting like a 100-point scale on it, like it's gonna register, but it's not. It shouldn't be where it is. Like people are treating it as if it's like the only story. Like every day, what's Elon doing today? What's he saying today?
Hold on.
Like, who gives a fuck?
Similar to George Stanza's, there's a lot of stuff that he does every day that makes Twitter more ridiculous and potentially more unstable for a whole host
Twitter's
of reasons.
Always been ridiculous and unstable.
Isn't that the draw?
Right. Like in like you can count the amplification of the negative impacts that Twitter has because of Elon's direct decisions. I think, you absolutely can. I can chart them for you in a larger segment if you want.
Define negative.
The increase in Nazis and hostility that these people he has allowed back on have. The fact that people like Chaya Raichik exist on this platform when she's a legitimate terrorist is a problem. The same with Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire. and you see me, I will respond to them every single day, reminding them that they are directly responsible for bomb threats to a children's hospital. These are the issues that he's allowing people to basically spread on this site unrequired. And look, and we can get into the free speech argument. This is all a broader issue. With this needs to be its own segment itself. It is momentous that he bought this, like he said, it's a regime change. And the question is, because there's two things to this. One, it is a failure of the business class and capitalism that nobody has figured out how to make a Twitter clone to any level. It's not Mastodon. I have no idea if Post is going to be the one to do it. But that they haven't managed to make a Twitter clone to where it was pre-Elon.
You can make anything you want to. It's just about whether or not the notable people who use the app will switch over to said new app. That's all it takes.
Listen, this is if you create an app similar to Twitter, post Elon, the people will flock to it. And if it's a certain class where you end up with a subsection of people remaining on Twitter similar to a subsection on things like Gab or 4chan or Truth Social, they will leave that Twitter because they do not want to be around those people, because that's not what they're there for. They're there to own the libs. And if there aren't any libs, they're not going to be there. This is why Parler and all these other things crashed. The issue with Elon thing is to chart the way that the social media site functions under him versus under Jack or whoever else was in charge. But yeah, I think the also issue is it's another massive billionaire controlling another huge ability for people to communicate so that they can change the perceptive in however they choose, whether it's Jeff Bezos owning what is he on the Washington Post, or it's Rupert Murdoch with the largest television megaphone in the country.
Well, let's just pump the brakes here for a second. Let's be fair. No one who's not a billionaire would be able to buy these things. So I mean, argument's a little moot there.
Bring back Jack Dorsey.
But that's what I'm saying. Also, Jack. Like it matters to what billionaire is owning it and how they are functioning in this space.
You find me the good billionaire, I'll put the campaign out for them. I'm not saying there is
one, but I'm saying there's different scales of one.
Okay.
Yeah, just a couple more stories to go after this.
Wait, can I really quickly bring up a story that happened on the 28th of October? On the 20th of October, there's a very under the radar story. This is a trivia question to this. Do you know the earliest a first round pick has been waived from their team?
I'm guessing it was October 28th.
I think I'm about to find out.
Are you talking about the NBA player?
I'm talking about the NBA player.
Yeah, who retired.
No. This is not Tyrell Terry. This is something else. A player got waived. A first-round pick got waived on October 28th. It was the earliest a player ever got waived. The previous one was George Papadopoulos, who was the one from the Kings, and they waived him at the trade deadline. This one was Josh fucking Primo, who was the first-round pick of the Spurs last year, because he can't keep it in his pants, and he showed up to their team psychiatrist and kept whipping his dick out. This 19-year-old first round pick from last year got waived because he kept exposing himself to a team psychiatrist, and the Spurs did not do a good job about this. This made me so mad on so many different levels, and I haven't been on a basketball pod to talk about it since it happened.
Matt, we should have known that was a Spurs story when he asked, when he started asking questions. The fact that we didn't say, "Oh, did it happen to the Spurs?" Yeah, obviously.
Spurs are about to beat the Knicks, and we have that there, but. Just a couple more stories, guys, and I appreciate your patience here. But November 15th, Ticketmaster sells more than 2 million tickets for Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour, the most tickets ever sold in a single day for an artist.
Is that really the first November story we have? Because nothing else happened in November.
Oh, yeah. I have two of these here. I had a couple, but just for time constraints. But yeah, November 15th with this. Now, the big thing here is from the price demand and the price gouging, some of those tickets were as much as 6 figures. How do we feel about the rise of just going to concerts specifically and live events, and how this is changing the future, and also how this is making its way to Congress to be debated and hopefully change the ways so that people don't have to spend these absurd amount of tickets through the second market or wherever.
Capitalism is cancer.
Fucking expensive to go to a concert.
Yo, I got one thing, and then I'm gonna open up the floor for everyone else. You know, everyone was giving shit to Biden about, for gas prices, and people were debating about whether or not gas prices were actually his fault. Everyone should legitimately come at Biden for Ticketmaster, because he could issue the Department of Justice to break this damn company up so that they can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And they haven't done that. So if you really want to be like, what the fuck, Biden? Perfect time. And it would be completely legit. That's it.
John Oliver had a really good piece on this type of stuff, or maybe it was some more news. One of them, a while ago. Fuck Ticketmaster. Fuck all these resale sites.
Yeah, they really do suck. Unless they become a sponsor of the show, then they're awesome. But that would be fun.
Should I get real close to the screen again, Matt, to get some views for your reels here, talking about Taylor Swift? I think that I'll be curious actually to see where this congressional thing leads, because I'm assuming nowhere. I think most of the people on this podcast will agree with that. I also don't necessarily know if they're investigating for any particular reason other than to have an investigation that that correlates with something that's happening in the news, to try and get some folks some face time on different media outlets. I don't understand. I like Desmond said, this is either a cut and dry case or it's not. Either they're allowed to do this or they're not. And what are we investigating? What is the investigation? It costs that much to buy a ticket on Ticketmaster, because that's where you have to buy tickets, and everybody wanted those tickets, and like that's quite literally how it works. That's how pricing works. Everybody wants one thing, so the person who pays the most for the one thing gets it. So if you have a lot of money, you can pay for the one thing and you can get it, and if you don't, you're effed. So if we're against it, then I don't understand why we're investigating. We know how to fix it, as again Desmond pointed out. If we're not against it, then we're not against it, and that's fine as well, I suppose. I think artists should probably have some concerns if we go down that road, because I know for me, I would also blame an artist, and it's frankly not their fault in a lot of ways. I know Pearl Jam had a big fight with Ticketmaster, and nothing was done back in the 90s. So, I mean, this does affect the artists. So I guess there is that route, that if this doesn't change, the artists can look for other ways to try and circumvent Ticketmaster. But Ticketmaster works with Live Nation, which does like 85 or whatever. I think it's 85% of these concerts. Anyway, they themselves are frankly a monopoly when it comes to live entertainment. So, I mean, I think that'll be an interesting thing to see. Where does the congressional thing even lead, other than Congress people grandstanding on television? Because I don't see where the investigation needs to be. I think it's, again, very cut and dry what happened, why it happened, and how to fix it if we so choose to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that they're damaging the marketplace, the Department of Justice can come in there, break them up, force them to break up. The end. I mean, they have over 80% control over the entire industry. That should be enough. That should be enough grounds to break them up. I mean, I would think that people would be more interested in having that be a reality, since they're kind of charging more for fees than the actual fucking ticket itself.
Sometimes, yeah.
Damn you! I just want to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers once and not spend $1,000 for it. That's all the guy wants to do. Change it for me so I can see my favorite band.
Why is U.S. law got to do that?
Because I'm being selfish.
Needs to be checked.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyways, Disney on November 20th announced that Bob Iger will return as the CEO of their company less than a year after he retired. Kicks the old guy out, and now people are looking towards Disney to see what exactly they're gonna do. I don't think there's any quote unquote Disney adults here, but I'm just curious.
What's a Disney adult?
My ex-girlfriend was a Disney adult.
Very
What
scary.
is that?
Adults that go to like Disney World every year, watch every single Disney movie, obsess over it. It's something.
They wear the ears. They do wear the ears.
Wear the ears, yeah.
Yes, it is very weird. But whatever, toot your horn.
But anyways, do we care about this? Do we care about Disney, this ultimate company that has created so many quote unquote magic memories with the S having a dollar sign to it and all of that? Disney, money, all of that. Do we care about Disney's future with this change?
Yes, I own stock in Disney. I care.
Okay. I was gonna say no, but probably for a similar reason. And I have no financial stake or otherwise in who's in charge of Disney or how they do,
Yes.
frankly.
It
I don't
depends
know.
on how it affects their programming. If they were trying to be more inclusive and then they aren't going to be anymore, that's yeah. But like that's a problem. I cannot tell you the last actual Disney animated movie I saw. I mean, other than the Marvel stuff, I don't watch anything Disney related really.
You don't watch Mickey Mouse Goes to the Zoo?
No, I can't honestly tell you the last.
Do you, Matt?
No, not anymore.
I mean, look, it's relevant in the sense that it does reach out to children and what they're going to see and be shaped by matters. It's less relevant in it's a massive corporation that is just shifting CEOs like massive corporations do.
I did hear a
Did we
rumor
just talk about one?
that this was a coup from the inside to get this guy out. And just as a side note,
And also like the stock issues, it isn't a lot of it to do with like the stock issues, and didn't that have to do with the fact that Disney Plus didn't do as well, and that it was just across the board streaming issue?
With Disney Plus has not been doing well. Again, I don't know why this change happened. I don't know anything about Disney stock, but I do know that in terms of actual subscribers and streamers, Disney Plus has not performed the way they wanted it to. I don't know. I think to your point, if they change programming, I suppose that would be bad. I really don't see Disney taking a hard right turn, even with the new leadership. And I think that would probably be the only genuine like fear. I think that this is again a bunch of notable, same way like the Elon thing is noticeable, and that a regime change is always interesting. Added wrinkle that this person, had previously been in charge. Bob Iger previously was in charge, had left, and is now back. But other than just the general like interesting thing that we can say happened in 2022, I don't see what is the actual real long-term changes that is going to result, especially since I don't think anyone really had massive issues with Disney circa, the early 2000s.
They had massive issues earlier this year with Florida.
No, yeah, I meant the programming on the whole. People,
due to the programming and Florida.
Right, but I'm saying that was Bob Iger's tenure was not marred in controversy.
Right. Yes.
So I don't believe that the programming will change in any such way that people will suddenly have a problem.
No rated R Disney movies coming?
No, I think maybe the
more
people
likely we're not going to see the 12 seconds of representation of a gay person on a screen.
Right. Well, that's possible.
Lightyear was a Disney movie. I saw that. That counts.
Yeah. So I mean, that's possible that they'll try and walk back based on like the whole Florida controversy. I really don't think they will. I just don't. I don't think there's enough of a market for changing.
People cry about it.
Well, I mean, you guys are being a little too singular with just thinking that this is just about Disney. I mean, Disney owns so many other things.
And that's what I was going to say too, is that
because they own Star Wars, they own Marvel, they own ESPN, very notably. They own 20th Century Fox.
ESPN and ABC, I've heard, are actually the reason he came back is because the old CEO he refused to spin off ABC and ESPN into their own company. And I guess Iger has been for that for a while. And now that he's back, it's rumored that it might again become a thing where ABC and ESPN become their own company separate from Disney, which would be surprising because Iger is actually the one that built up Disney.
Right. He's the one who acquired these. Yeah,
Marvel,
he acquired
Disney,
all this.
20th Century
Kimmel
Fox.
Can't save it.
Here's the question. Is it going to be similar to Howard Schultz where he comes back and they start unionizing? Because I'm in favor of that.
I mean, he was gone for a year. So, I mean, like, it's not like that much has really changed since he's been gone. You're not going to notice that much when he comes back either. It's going to be as if nothing happened at all.
And he's never
I don't think anything changes from a programming standpoint. All the stuff that they had in the pipeline was still in the pipeline before he left. And it's still going to get made anyway. I mean, like Marvel, for instance, they plan things out like 5 years at a time. So, I mean, like they've already had their plans way in place, pre him leaving and then again when he comes back.
I think a lot of it also is a lot of the Marvel shows this year weren't as successful. Like especially after
Movies on the whole weren't. I mean, except for
well,
like
not
Top
even just
Gun.
the like they had.
Don't
a
even
couple
get me
of
started,
shows.
guys. Marvel's been pissing me off. Like
I haven't watched a Marvel movie since Endgame. I don't even
Yeah,
care.
I saw Black Panther
they
recently. I was
they
not,
have
like, super
really
impressed.
lowered their quality for Phase 4. It's been very unsetting. Well, upsetting.
They're cranking stuff out too quickly for it to have like any type of like decency in it.
Look, it's not even that.
She-Hulk
It's
was
the thing that takes the least amount of time when you're developing a show is the thing that they're consistently fucking up. It's honestly mind-boggling. Like they can't put together a good plot. Like that has to be the simplest thing in any production. Like filming the damn thing, getting the characters all dressed up, putting like sets together, post-production. These things take months. Writing out the show should take maybe 10 days with 10 people in a fucking dark room. I mean, it shouldn't be that challenging, and yet they consistently drop the ball for the last 2 years. It honestly
takes
mind-boggling.
significantly
Avengers
longer to write
should have ended
anything
at
than
Endgame.
that.
No, I think 10
Okay,
days is all right.
obviously I'm exaggerating. My point is like as
You
far
need
as like
11 people for 12
as
days.
far as like actually like what's the most challenging part of creating a television show, the actual writing of the plot, not the dialogue, not the frame by frame blocking, but the actual like synopsis of what the show should be about should be the thing that takes the least amount of time. They've been just absolutely blowing it project after project.
Yeah. Again, I don't think it's a time thing. I think it's a quality thing. I think the writers need to write a better plot. I don't
no, that's my
necessarily think-
point. Yeah, they're just
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
not
I
doing
just
it.
Like doing
don't-
Aladdin 4, Jafar may need glasses.
All right, no, somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow.
Oh my god.
Come on.
Someday, some way.
Somehow
That
we
was
don't know
such a
how.
stupid decision.
I am all
That
the
was
Jedi.
that was
Oh
brilliant.
my god.
Oh man.
All right,
On
we're about to
December
lose
8th,
this, Matt.
on December 8th, American basketball star Brittany Griner is released by Russian authorities after being arrested earlier in the year for possessing hash oil. In exchange for Russian arms dealer Viktor Bouts, aka the Merchant of Death, Griner was detained for drug smuggling charges back in February 2022. So, who wants to open up this can of worms?
Yeah, I'm gonna say
I
something.
will.
Victor
Actually, I
Bell
wanna go.
was a lot fatter when he went into jail, and he came out really skinny, and that's pretty impressive. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. That was
Got to
very
work on yourself.
well,
I'm going to refer back to my Ukraine comments. Most people don't understand, myself included, frankly, don't really understand geopolitics. I think a lot of the armchair negotiating and the armchair commentary about what was good, what was bad, what could have been, what should have been, is all people just trying to make themselves out to have knowledge they don't have. And so I am glad that Brittany Griner's home, because she didn't deserve to be in jail to begin with. And that is the only comment I have for the segment.
No more.
You want me to go next?
No.
Fresh faces?
I have nothing. I'm happy that an American is home, and the people who were complaining about this were happy she was in jail in the first place. And just to reiterate that Paul Whelan has been in prison since Donald Trump was in office, and the prisoner swap that he did with North Korea was one of my fraternity brothers, and he is dead. So thank you for that, Trump. So there's that.
All right. Well, then I'll do it then. I actually felt differently about this as time went on. Originally, I was really upset that Brittany Griner was being held in jail, and I never stopped being upset, but I think I changed why I was upset about this story as time went on. And I think it really showed me that this was more just like a story about just politics more than anything. Because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone should be in jail for marijuana possession. And so if we're going to work our ass off to make sure that Brittany Griner comes home from Russia for being in jail for marijuana possession, which I don't think anyone should be in jail for that, then we should be bringing everyone the fuck home who's in jail for marijuana possession, because why the fuck is anyone in jail for that? And so it does feel a little strange that this celebrity was able to have the US government fight so hard to bring her home when we have people in our own country who we have in jail currently for marijuana possession. And if that's really an issue that we really firmly stand behind, that we think that no one should be in jail for that, then why the fuck are people in this country still in jail for that?
Valid points. Very valid. Also on this day, Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show, has his final episode, and he rides off in the sunset. His last guest was Neil Brennan, which was a very interesting choice. How do we think he
Complete
did?
180 here.
Who was
Complete 180. Wow. Brittany Griner to Trevor Noah.
I thought it was fine. I mean, I haven't watched The Daily Show in years. Who's replacing him?
It has not been announced yet. And that's another question I like to throw out there. Who should be the next host of The Daily Show?
That's a great
I guess it
question.
depends on what they want to do. If they want to keep it somebody within their orbit, I know Jordan Klepper has very recently emerged as a bit more prominent. That could be something that would interest him.
That would be a good role for him. Because look, his bit with talking to stupid people at the rallies can't go on forever.
But I would say that they haven't typically replaced from within. Jon Stewart was not a within replacement, and then Trevor Noah also not a within replacement. So it's entirely possible they look for somebody outside of the outside of their like orbit there. And I don't if it's out from someone on the show, I really don't. It could be any comedian at that point who has any sort of interest in talking about world events, world news, and politics. So I don't really know. I would say if you had to make me pick someone, Klepper would make sense. He's gotten very hot right now in terms of like his coverage of the midterms in previous elections, and he's already regular on that show. But other than that, no name jumps out to me.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to The Daily Show, I had no idea who Trevor Noah was when he took over for Jon Stewart. I thought that whoever they were going to bring in would be a disaster. And then as time went on, I grew to really like Trevor Noah. Not better than Jon Stewart, but like it felt kind of like a comic book in a sense, where it's just like, this is a different version of the same person. Just it's like, this is their iteration of the same character. So he just made it kind of like his own thing, which I didn't like the second version as good as the first version, but I still appreciated Trevor Noah to some degree. He's not that funny, but he has his moments. And the few times where he was talking about really personal issues or certain issues in politics, I felt like he gave pretty decent insight most of the time. I didn't watch The Daily Show all the time, but it wasn't bad. I just hope that whoever comes in just again tries to just make it their own thing, and hopefully it's another good version or a good version. We'll see.
Or we can have
what's Hassan Minaj doing?
That was the one I
Chilling on the
thought.
couch.
I know he had a Netflix show. I don't know if it's still
it.
on here, but I thought he would be good. All right. One person we will not have host, Elon Musk.
Jeez, he's back.
I don't know. I think you got Elon Musk
back like a headache.
Didn't we already? I thought we already went through this conversation. All right.
Speaking of more decrepit people who have not been on their positive side, Sam Bankman-Fried on December 13th. The founder of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange known as FTX is arrested in the Bahamas after the United States files criminal charges against him, including wire fraud and money laundering. And he was released on a $250 million bail. And well, whether you want to compare to Bernie Madoff or whatever, he took a lot of money from a lot of people. He has taken away the credibility of the cryptocurrency industry. And we will see how his year is going to be this year, right? What do you guys think about this story?
I love this story. It's super fascinating to see what's been going on with this.
By the way, this happened on December 15th. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
So just from the fact that he won't shut up. He's been doing interviews since all of this happened. Any lawyer is going to tell him, stop talking. His ex-girlfriend and his business partner, the ones that took the plea deal and turned on him, they didn't say a word. And I can guarantee you their sentences aren't going to be as bad as his. And the rumor is he's going to take a plea this week, by the way. But just the fact that he ran what is possibly one of the biggest frauds in modern history, and he's putting himself in jail. And I think it's just fascinating to watch him just constantly be his, like, I don't know, the reason he's going to jail is just him not shutting up. Like, I don't get it. And I think it's hilarious, but at the same time, it's just like, what are you doing? He's clearly not stupid. He's very smart. but he's making just, I don't know if it's his ego or if he's just evil or what.
It's
But
that
it's
snake oil salesman, Rocky. It's
Hey, this
they
is a win
don't
for
have
free speech
anything
as far as I'm
else.
concerned.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Let
I'm not
people just
saying
dig
This
their
is
own
a
grave.
win
Be
for,
allowed to
for
talk.
regulating crypto. That's what this is. It's a win for regulating crypto.
But I mean, I just think it's fascinating. I just the interviews and stuff. You'll never see that.
I think it's weird that you actually brought up a really good point that he just like won't shut up. I think it's kind of weird that like he's the second one who just thought he could like talk his way through whatever problems he was having. Like that's what Kanye was doing. Kanye just kept trying to talk his way out of things. Granted, he didn't have any good points, and the things he was saying were asinine. But like they're just going to keep going. Like they live in this world where if I talk enough and I say enough things, I'm going to get myself out of it. But yeah, throw the book at him. I don't know what the penalty for it is. The
can be
maximum
life.
penalty it is, but fuck it. This shit's crazy. It's not been a good year for crypto. This is like the third big crash or something. And it might be a good idea to like look into why this unstable currency keeps crashing and dropping people. Although it is very funny that all these celebrities were tied up in this. There's a stadium named after it.
Not anymore.
It was
Yeah, it was where the Lakers play.
It was the Lakers. It was the Staples Center.
Yeah, it was no, it was the Heat, wasn't it?
In Miami.
Yeah, I think it was FTX Arena in Miami.
Oh, that, and there was a crypto. I think crypto.com was in LA.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
FTX
Yeah, there's
Arena.
two of them.
Now it is your ad here in Miami.
That's the reason Tom Brady's still playing football in my opinion.
Conversations Arena.
Yeah, I mean, just like it's just a nonsense. Like to some extent, the celebrities have to be held accountable too, because they're just talking snake oil salesman shit. Like
Kevin,
all them saying
Oh, but they
Mr.
they
Wonderful.
were, yeah, but they were what's it called? They were duped as well.
He
They
was
weren't
also
in
paid.
on it. Yeah,
Larry
well,
David was right.
I don't know what
accidentally,
that commercial was about, but okay.
accidentally, right?
But no,
Didn't
I
the
love
one
it.
Matt Damon was talking about? Isn't that one like completely collapsed?
I don't know.
I
Probably
don't know which one he was in. I just
dared to be different or something. I don't know.
Tom Brady's in the lawsuit with FTX right now.
Luckily, I was too
He lost
stupid
so
to
much
figure
money.
out crypto.
Me too.
Seriously.
Nah, me
It was
too.
pissed to me. All right, the
I just
final
left it alone.
story to discuss here on December 18th, the World Cup final in Qatar. Argentina beats France 4-2 in penalty shootouts after the team locked at 3-3 in extra time. Lionel Messi scores 2 for Argentina. Kylian Mbappe has a hat trick for France, and Argentina wins. Did anybody watch this? What is considered the greatest soccer match in the last century?
I watched the shootout.
Oh man, well this isn't a good.
I
one
didn't
for
watch it.
soccer
I'm
if
sorry.
we didn't watch.
Nope, didn't watch
No.
it.
Nope. Soccer's boring.
I
I
can't
did
deal
watch
with
after
soccer.
when I saw who won. I watched the ending, but that was after it happened, and it was all over Twitter.
Yeah, I saw people like flipping out over it. I don't care enough about soccer, but all of the people I work with were very happy. They're all big soccer fans.
I know
Alright,
that
then.
billions of people
Well,
watch
Argentina
that.
Argentina is an upset, though. I think if we're going to talk about, weren't they an upset over France, or am I mistaken?
I thought it was kind of even.
I'm not talking about
I think
the
they-
actual
According to
game.
I think they were
ESPN,
coming in as a big favorite into this
Yeah.
tournament. They got upset. The Saudis beat them.
Oh yeah, and then everyone got
Okay,
a
maybe that's
out
what,
of the deal.
maybe that's what I'm talking about. But
Mhm.
I thought for some reason that France was the favorite, but
I worked for a French company
Maybe.
and I wanted them to lose.
no. Okay. Well, we'll keep that in.
Final thing, then, to end on a positive note, just tell me, what was your favorite thing that happened in 2022 throughout the entire world, whether news, sports, entertainment, culture, or your personal life? Tell me what was the best thing that happened to you in 2022.
Well, Ryan got married. I think that's probably mine.
You can't possibly have mistaken that from me. Can't
I'm stealing
possibly
that.
have mistaken
I'm
that.
stealing that. I'm claiming Ryan's marriage is the number one thing that happened to me this year.
God, now I have to pick a new one.
Because something
What am I
new.
gonna
My
do?
favorite thing. Oh man, you know what my favorite thing of 2022 was?
You could say my marriage. Apparently, that's where everyone's allowed to say that. So,
It was top 5 for sure. It really was.
oh wow, okay. So I didn't actually win. That's fine. Go ahead.
The best thing that happened to me this year was this is true. I won $100 off a $3 bet.
Oh, nice.
I hit a big parlay, and that's as far. I mean, I also got a new job and continuing this podcast. And I was Ubering for most of 2022, no more. And I can literally write a memoir on my year as a full-time Uber driver. And let me tell you something. It is not as fun as your fun rides with the Uber driver going home with your friends. It's another animal, but that's a story for another day.
Fun fact, I went in an Uber for the first time with Ryan like a couple months ago.
Was this to his wedding?
Yeah, stay away.
Was it to the wedding?
No, it was not. It was to Bourbon Street, actually.
Yeah.
I've never been in an Uber before that.
All right, I guess I'll go. So since mine was very clearly stolen for reasons that I don't fully understand, I'm going to change things up a little bit. If we're going personal, I moved recently this year in 2022 to a new city, which is always fun and exciting. So my wife and I are here now, which is great. If I'm going for an actual story, I think the one that I'm most interested in is something that came in right at the end of 2022, and we may have mentioned it briefly at the beginning. It is Congressman-elect George Santos of New York, because
so funny. I love
he
it.
just did a make-em-up to Congress in New York. I don't know. And in fairness, I don't know what he has or has not lied about. I just know
Everything
that
but his
everyone
name,
says he's
including
Right.
the fact of when his
So-
mom died and whether he
right. Yeah. So again, and I don't know. I'm sure. Well, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I assume that some of the things that we are currently believe he's lying about will come out as not lies, or they'll figure out a way to spin something. But at this point, so many things have come out. I've seen 2 different tweets about the death of his mother on 2 different dates. So that alone I've seen with my own eyes, and I just find it fascinating. Again, the power of creativity, and that should be everyone's message for 2023. If you're creative enough, you can kill your mother twice and get elected to Congress. It's easy to do if you just believe in yourself and you know the name of a college and 2 large financial institutions in New York City. So I'm very interested in that story, and I would love to see how it plays out in 2023. My hope is that he doesn't sign on to anything and then proceeds to talk about all the bills he wrote in his reelect in 2024, but I could only get so lucky.
My favorite story from this year, it's a little strange, but I think my favorite story from this year was Donald Trump deciding to run for president again.
Oh,
And I got to tell you why.
okay.
I really do believe that when it comes to people on the left, they just kind of check the fuck out whenever a Democrat is in office, and they just do not seem to care about anything politics related.
Mhm.
And Donald Trump coming back is going to change all of that, because they are absolutely fascinated by every word that comes out of his mouth. And when you're a guy who owns a political podcast that you spend a lot of time investing into, you kind of need people to care about politics in order to get people to listen to a political podcast. So I guess thanks, Donald Trump, for getting people to care about politics again.
I mean, you got me to care the first time.
Did you get any
So-
of his NFTs?
Damn it, that was my
no,
story.
No, but I did
God
post
damn
something
it, bro.
about that, and it got a lot of laughs. So thanks for helping with the algorithm that day.
Fuck.
Sorry.
You stole his NFTs and my actual wedding.
And clearly
Have some
mine
more-
is more important.
Have some of your own stories, Rocky.
I
God.
can say something else, but
No, yeah, all right, I'll go. So I have a couple. Sports wise, watching the Warriors win was pretty cool. Like watching Steph and Clay was really good. Fuck Draymond forever. But fuck the Warriors because they ruined Kawhi. And that team was gonna win the title. No, that was pretty cool for watching win. The funniest story is definitely with Donald Trump said I have a giant announcement. And then it was he's selling NFTs, which was really cool with Jake Alaska, who did the January 6th, realized that he was going to jail for NFT salesman. It was just objectively goofy and funny and possibly illegal for some of the stuff that he did. And if I had the $100 to spend, I absolutely would have bought it as a gag gift for somebody.
He sold them all out, right?
Yeah, because his supporters have 4 brain cells combined.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Wait, no, hold on. Is that actually
The guy
confirmed
just-
that he sold them out, or he said that?
if someone is stupid enough to buy it, I mean,
would've bought it as a
more
gag
power
gift,
to you.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? More power to you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? More power to you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? More power to you. I would sell it too. I would sell it too. You know what? If someone's gonna buy it, I'm selling it. Whatever. That's on
the
you.
it's the most pre-Trump, pre-President Trump thing he could have done, and it's hysterical. But on a personal note, dude, I cannot believe that I went back to college and I'm gonna be an EMT. That was like I was been so adamant about like not going back to
Congratulations.
school,
Nice.
and I do
Nice.
not want to be a paramedic. And if in like 3 years time I'm a fucking paramedic, I'm gonna be so mad that I had to go back to both school.
Hey man, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It's
Dude,
Congrats
very
to you.
everyone in my class was like a decade younger than me.
Yeah, that sounds
It happens.
intimidating.
That was like I was talking this, we were talking about there's one point we were talking about serial killers, and I brought up the
That's a class subject.
no, just like she was talking about I don't remember how it came up, but we were talking
You gotta
about
know
it.
how the trauma starts. That's
Exactly.
We were talking about like just like not as many serial killers, and I was like, yeah, because it's social media and stuff. I was like, the most recent one I could think of to me off the top was the DC sniper, and I was talking to the kids in my class. I'm like, I have no idea that the DC sniper was 2002. There's kids in my class who were born after that. Like,
No, I've met someone recently who was born after 9/11, and I'm too old for this fucking generation now.
dude, it's wild being in this class. So I got this exam on Tuesday, and then I can officially save people's lives. That's fucking crazy, man.
Nice.
Both with your views and with your job.
Yeah, I do hope next year to be back streaming more consistently.
Oh, looking forward to that. Anything else, guys? Did I miss anyone for this favorite stories of the year?
No, I think there was something that you mentioned earlier, though, and since we all kind of picked a politics-esque favorite story, I wanted to bring this up. It was a bit heartwarming. It was an entertainment. The Foo Fighters, when they did do their reunion, they had their drummer's son play as their drummer, and it was at the I want to say that was the O2. That was like a big arena, right? Or
Yeah,
where was
out in London. I think Wembley Stadium.
Wembley, yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was out in London. And so if you're looking for, I mean, obviously tragic, the circumstances, but heartwarming to get to see, you know, a son kind of, you know, fulfill a father's legacy in front of all of those people. So something a little less political, a little more heartwarming, I guess, to ring in 2023. You know, just a father and a son who clearly shared a passion for music. And being able to honor his father in that way that his father probably very much would have loved to see. So something else to end on.
I have another good one. This is not political, but the recent breakthrough with nuclear energy about fusion instead of fission, that's a huge deal. And that's like a really good story that shows that like if you actually invest in science and you put the energy in, like crazy shit can happen.
Man, what wholesome endings on this podcast. I appreciate this a lot, guys. We can seriously send this podcast to the National Archives because we covered everything in this country. And no, seriously, I appreciate it a lot. And this was a lot of fun. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. So with that, have a happy new year on to 2023. I hope a year from now we can reflect on 2023 as we did with this year. And let the future be bright with whatever you do in your personal and professional lives, gentlemen. I appreciate the time, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, catch you guys later.
See everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Rocky
Year.
Polemini, Desmond Price, Ryan Page, Fresh Faces, New Ideas. Thank you, guys. See you soon.